I'm going to bring us into it with the theme song. Ready?
Yep.
All right, starting the episode in 3.
Cry for me. Crawl on the floor and cry like a little baby. Can you do that, Alden? Can you cry out like a little baby for the film? It'd be so beautiful. Crawl over there and crawl around and cry like a baby.
Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 12, PeaksChatz, The Return. My name is Magellan, and I'm here in the Bahamas drinking mixed drinks on the beach with Alan. Hey, Alan.
Oh, we sipping out here. Oh, baby.
We sure are. How are you doing this week?
I am wonderful, and hearing that bassy Battle Lamenty theme song in my headphones, getting ready to settle in and record with my nice cup of tea and my two homies. What's better than this? Them's being dudes.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And yeah, this is our final episode of PeaksChatz. And there is someone who's been crucial to this season of Chats Television Podcast and our coverage of The Return, and someone who is going to play a key role in tonight's PeaksChatz episode. They finished their paperwork, stacks and stacks of it, and they're ready to talk about it. It's Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Can only do it one more time. God damn, that pie is good.
Pour one out for perhaps the best clip to ever grace the soundboard. Yeah, I'm curious to know what people think was their favorite one, but that one's definitely high up there. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. I'm ready to talk about this book and talk about some more characters and just talk about Twin Peaks a bunch.
Great. So we've got a few things on our docket for this episode. The main event is we are going to be discussing what is contained in the Final Dossier, the second Twin Peaks book written by Mark Frost, written after The Return finished airing, and it has all of the answers we could possibly want, and we're going to be very satisfied, I think, with what we hear from that tome. And then we also are going to return to our character tier list and cover the characters that we couldn't talk about before because it would have spoiled my little ears. And then we'll talk broadly about Twin Peaks before we bid it a fond farewell and tell you what's coming up next season. So let's talk about the Final Dossier. What's going on in there?
All right, so here's the deal with the Final Dossier.
Yeah.
The Final Dossier, so I think season 3 ended in September of 2017, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right.
And then the Final Dossier came out October of that year.
Halloween.
So it was a Halloween treat. You can dig into the Final Dossier. It is very short. It is like 130 pages. Not very long. It's a very brisk read compared to The Secret History. Michelle had way more work to do than I did. So shout outs again to Michelle. This is just the Final Dossier is basically anything that Mark Frost couldn't talk about because season 3 didn't air yet. And it's all condensed and streamlined into a bunch of folders that are labeled by character name, though many of them don't really have much to do with the characters. It's more, I would say, B plots. I would categorize them as plots. Most of them are B plots.
Okay.
I feel like the Final Dossier in a lot of respects is what the missing pieces was to David Lynch. This is kind of Mark Frost's missing pieces.
Incredible. I can't wait. Is it best to just go in order with the folders, the character folders?
Yep, I'm going to plug my phone in so it doesn't die on me while I'm reading from my phone.
Okay.
But yeah, basically I have everything in order and I have bullet points for everything. So we're just going to go in order and just talk about what Mark Frost outlines in the Final Dossier. The last word on Twin Peaks for him. And yeah, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
All right, so we get the intro of the book. Tamara Preston, Tammy, has this intro where she talks about how Gordon Cole pretty much made her the archivist after the Secret History, and so and Gordon tasks her with the assignment of just like find out what the fuck is going on in Twin Peaks, because there's some shit going on in Twin Peaks. It's basically the framing device for the book.
Where does this happen in relation to the timeline of the show?
This happens. It is pretty much after, like shortly after she's writing this shortly after the season ends.
Gotcha.
So yeah. The first thing we get, very first thing, is an autopsy for Leo Johnson, written by one Albert Rosenfeld.
Let's go.
In 1989. There's a lot of classic Albert-isms, very 90s Albert, very angry about Leo. He's shit-talking Leo this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch, typical Albert stuff. There's smacks of ableism and classism in the way he is talking about Leo and people like him, but I feel like it is very Albert in that era. In character, he basically says, like, yeah, this dude died, but, like, the world's kind of a better place, so.
Okay. Okay, I'm glad we got some resolution on Leo Johnson.
So the autopsy, Leo Johnson did not die from spider bites, if you must know.
I must.
Must know.
Mark Frost even says that it's stupid to expect him to die of spider bites, because they're not fatal if you get bit by them, which, okay, Mark. It's your show, but okay.
You're the one that put him in a cage of spiders or whatever.
So he was shot 5 times in the chest by a presumed FBI agent. Albert theorizes that it was Wyndham Earl before he disappeared.
So he was
also,
like, you're getting bit by spiders. Anyways, ba 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 ba, you're dead. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Wyndham.
Yeah. And yeah, he basically talks about like the shawl color and everything. Like, yeah, it is just going into detail about Leo and what happened to him. Albert remarks on the murders that took place during Twin Peaks during this time.
Yeah.
He's just like, what the fuck is going on between, all the people who died in the show. Also, he references the drug dealer that tried to kill Bobby in Fire Walk with Me, which I think is funny, but he just calls him like an unnamed drug dealer. Nobody knows anything about this dude, so.
Bobby killed a guy.
Cold case, Bobby killed a guy. There's a weird writing thing where in a paragraph, Albert prefaces a statement by saying trigger warning.
2017.
1989?
Yes, exactly. It's written in
weird.
1989, so it's not even like people were not saying that, Albert. Mark. There's a stain on the autopsy pages from some cherry pie that Albert was eating.
Cute.
But yeah, that's Leo. Weird to open with Leo, but
Yeah.
From there we go into Shelley Johnson.
Okay.
And we get some background. So we get some weird stuff where like Mark Frost like retcons some stuff like from the original series, which is interesting. So Shelley apparently knew Bobby before Leo. They like went to elementary school together.
Okay.
And then Shelley confronted Bobby about his relationship with Laura. And then they broke up, and then Shelley went to the Roadhouse and met Leo, and then married Leo.
Okay, I don't like that too much. I
Hey,
always
Mark?
thought Shelley was like older than Bobby. Isn't that the situation, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, yes, in the show, totally. I guess she was also very young for like somebody to be married to.
Yeah,
Yes,
that was always the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Leo dies. Bobby and Shelley marry like a year later.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then 7 months later they had Becky. So like they got married after Shelley got pregnant,
I
basically.
see. Right.
Right.
Mrs. Briggs helped raise Becky. And then Mrs. Briggs and Norma helped them purchase a home, where they lived when their marriage was stable.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
This is good because
Does it
this is like
say-
filling in the stuff that I wanted filled in
Yeah.
just for like my closure, you know?
Does it say what went south about their marriage?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right. After that, we get a break from this plot line, and we go over to the Horns and the Haywards.
Good. Let's go. Let's, yeah.
And I mentioned earlier, so this book is like weirdly structured. So if I don't get to a plot point, it's because it's later in the book.
Got it.
So Audrey was in the hospital after the bank explosion. We know this. Ben Horn was in the hospital for his head injury around the
Yes.
same time.
Right.
Doc Hayward brought him to the hospital, and he lied. He said that Ben was so shocked by the bank explosion that he came to the Hayward household in mourning. He started drinking, and then he passed out and hit his head on the fireplace. That's the story that he tells.
Damn, Doc.
Oh.
Come on, man. That's really a long lie, huh?
Whoa. Okay.
That sucks.
Um,
All right.
Around the around the same time, Cooper was also in the hospital for hitting his head on the bathroom mirror. Of course, Doc Hayward saw Cooper exiting Audrey's room soon after. 9 months later, Audrey gave birth to Richard Horn. Birth certificate lists father as unknown. Soon after this, Doc Hayward stopped practicing medicine in Twin Peaks and got a divorce and moved to Middlebury, Vermont. Mrs. Hayward stayed in Twin Peaks, where she raised the younger two Haywards by herself. And she was funded by Ben Horn during this time. So Ben Horn was giving her money, about $7,500 a month, until her death.
Wow.
Wow. Weird.
Where did he get that? How? That's a lot of money to just give someone. Okay, that's all right.
He's Ben Horn's rich, I guess. We'll also get more Ben Horn stuff later.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're wondering about the one Hayward sister that appeared once to like rat out Donna, she is a pediatrician who practices in Seattle.
Dope. Oh, nice. Didn't go that far.
Good.
The
glad
one
she's
Hayward
doing
that
well.
turned out good, yes.
Glad she's doing all right.
Kirsten had a bad time. Donna had a bad time, and then she was Harriet.
Yeah.
I think her name was
Harriet, yes, correct.
Harriet's great.
Nice, good poll.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right,
always loved
and
her
then
hair.
now, yeah, and then now we get Donna.
Okay, this is big.
After Twin Peaks, she went to college in New York and worked as a model.
Okay.
Yep.
She shut off all communication with her parents, but kept in contact with her sister. She also exchanged some letters with Audrey Horn during this time. She eventually dropped out of college in freshman year to pursue modeling and was very successful. She dated a bunch of high-profile men. That's quotes in quotes.
God damn, Mark.
I'll say this is also in quotes. She married a man nearly 2 decades her senior, the co-founder of a successful .com startup and a prominent figure in the New York venture capital community.
I wish it was Sergey Brin. I wish they would just fucking not be cowards and be like, it's the Google guy.
Is that
God.
wait? Who is that implied to be? Is that who that's implied to be?
No,
No,
I'm
don't.
just being silly. I don't think that's actually who it is.
It's not like Bloomberg or something,
Yeah.
right?
2
It
decades
could
her
be, I don't
senior.
know.
I don't know. I can't put that number to that.
Anyway, during this phase of Donna Hayward, she met up with Lana Milford, and seeing Lana
Awesome.
Milford again
Awesome.
freaked her the fuck out.
It would to me too, bud. Valid.
She eventually checked into rehab. Donna's
Jeez.
mom died in 2009,
Aw.
and that kind of spiked the drug problems.
Okay.
But she eventually stabilized and then got divorced after rehab, which you're not recommended to do, but okay. She moved to Connecticut and worked on staying sober just as around the time where she reconnected with Doc Hayward. Eventually she moved to Vermont and became an assistant to her dad because Doc Hayward was still practicing. And she is studying to become a nurse, and it's just chill. She moved in with her dad, and she's just a nurse now.
Okay, so it looped around.
So that's the Donna arc. We also get Kirsten Hayward in this chapter.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
Mark describes her as a child prodigy.
Okay.
She went to Harvard at 16,
Okay.
but couldn't handle the pressure of adult life and the trauma of her parents' divorce.
Oh.
She went back to Twin Peaks to live with her mother. She got into drugs during this time. There's a through line in this book. And yeah, the death of her mom in 2009 made stuff worse. And that's where we see her in the show.
I mean, people staying in Twin Peaks and unfortunately, getting into drugs and stuff is something that's already in the show. So I imagine if you're writing something that's a follow-up to the show, it's okay, well, a lot of these characters just have to end up there because the show already exists. So, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner, but why choose to write it like that? So many people stayed home, and yeah, it's weird. Weird through line.
Yeah.
Becky works at the Double R now.
Oh, great.
There's a
Okay.
warrant out for Stephen's arrest, and it is
He's
thought
dead.
that Gersten has skipped town.
Okay.
Okay. So Gerson's gone. Becky just works at the Double R again. Okay.
Yeah.
I
I
hope
guess that's something.
that's as good as you want, even though the last scene with Becky is really awkward. But that's what I
Oh,
expected.
I will
A lot-
say, Magellan's reactions to this are exactly my reactions. The
Yeah.
first time I
A
first
lot
time I
of
read
this is I'm asking hey, what happened to Donna Hayward? And then there's an answer, and it's yeah, that answers the question, but it doesn't mean anything to me, really. I don't know. It's interesting.
That's what a lot of I think the Secret History felt like when it was getting into sequel-y stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
When do Lewis
Audrey
and Clark show up in this
Horn.
one? Oh, okay.
What's up?
Audrey Horn. I was asking when do Meriwether Lewis and his pal Clark, when do they show up in this one?
Doesn't come up, unfortunately.
Nah, okay,
Damn.
okay. Let's hear about Audrey Horn.
Audrey
This
Horn.
I want to know.
Ben and Sylvia Horn got divorced around too late. 2 years after we'll call it the Hayward incident, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just all
Um,
that stuff.
Sylvia took the money and bought a nice house, nice upper class house that we see in season
Yep.
3. So that's why she lives in a fancy house.
Oh.
Gotcha.
This is where Mark Frost writes that Johnny has a profound case of autism,
Sheesh.
and that's why he lives with Sylvia. So she takes care of him.
Woof.
This is okay. Actually, let me get back to this one. Let me just talk about Audrey, and I'll come back to Ben.
Okay.
Audrey discovered that she was pregnant 2 months after she left the hospital and refused financial help from her estranged family.
How long was she in the coma for?
I'd have to go back and check.
Not that long, it sounds like.
Not that
A
long.
couple weeks or something, maybe.
Yes.
Or you think you're worried if that
Maybe.
happened while she was in a coma?
Well, I think it did happen while she was
It
in
did
the
happen
coma,
while she was in the
Right.
coma, though.
But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just wondering about the timeline of her realizing that fact.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can't wait for some sick Charlie lore. Here we go.
Okay. Hold
I
on.
feel like Charlie might not exist, right? Isn't that kind of the thing?
Yeah.
3.5 weeks.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
That's a scary coma, though.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a quote from the book.
Oh, God.
Audrey prepared, as she put in a letter to her mother at the time, for the most important role of her life, raising her child as a single mother.
Okay.
Horny Mark.
She was 19 when Richard was born. She got a GED
Oh, God.
and started studying business at community college.
Okay.
Okay,
Audrey.
that tracks, actually.
She opened a local hair and beauty salon.
Okay.
This is just another quote for the book because I did not want to paraphrase this. She never commented publicly and was never heard to speculate with anyone about who the father of her son might be, and didn't seem interested in discussing it with anyone.
Yeah,
If Audrey herself was curious about the father's identity, she never availed herself of any easily obtained paternity test that I've been able to uncover. I, as in Tammy Preston.
Tamara Preston, yeah.
One could conclude that she didn't care, or perhaps knew who it was all along. The only possible clue I've been able to find along these lines is a framed photo of Agent Cooper that hangs on the wall of her office at the salon.
God.
Hey.
Oh,
Whoa.
God.
Whoa. What? That's so... that's confusing. Yeah, anyway, okay.
I'm pausing the...
She knew.
Yeah, apologies, I'm pausing the drink water. So.
Sure.
Yeah, no, please hydrate.
Yeah,
What is that? What are the implications of that? That Audrey...
If you want to talk about this, it's bonkers, so...
Yeah. I guess I hadn't even considered when we were watching The Return the extent to which Audrey's aware of who Richard Horne's father was, but she doesn't know about doppelgangers. And
No.
So...
Or Annie, really.
And Richard does mention the photo in the show.
Oh,
does
he
he?
does. Yeah. When he meets Doppelkoop, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that ball of yarn is going to take a while to unspool, I think. Yeah, I don't
So
quite know what to say about that.
I still need to know how we get to where we are. This doesn't even get close to bringing us to The Return.
What's your theory right now, Alan? What's your guess?
right now?
Yeah.
It's like a trauma-induced, like, alternate universe. I think that's how boring
Okay.
Mark would make it.
Okay. What is it? Is she in a computer program? That's what I'm going to say. She's in a computer program.
It's in the Matrix. We're trying to guess what brings Audrey to where she is in season 3.
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Perfectly normal reactions to that bomb drop. So
I'm like nervous right now. I'm
Yeah,
feeling
same.
anxious.
this is the most bonkers plot in this book, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Just because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Audrey never allowed Richard to meet Ben. We'll get into why later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On Richard's 10th birthday, Audrey married her longtime accountant. The marriage was bad.
Okay.
Audrey closed the salon without warning and disappeared into either agoraphobic seclusion or a private care facility, as rumored.
So that's all it is?
That is what Mark says.
I knew it wasn't going to be satisfying. I already knew. And yet, at the same time, sheesh.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty much it. I didn't go into the details of the marriage because it's just here's the bad marriage tropes, abuse bullshit. So
I see.
Why did she marry her long-time accountant? That part's just like... What
because
brings
it's
it
what Lynch Lynch wrote.
Sure. Okay.
This is pretty much a mixture of what was in that original script
Yeah.
and what was in the final product.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Sherilyn Finn has said this.
Rest in peace, Audrey. You're not even. So is that then like the private care facility? That white.
Yes. If you were to follow the logic, yes.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's so obnoxious and fraught. Also,
Mm-hmm.
Twin Peaks mental health. A 3-hour video essay.
I love that you guys are experiencing the exact same emotions I felt when I read this book.
I'm just like I'm just in stunned silence. I just don't. It's like, okay, what happened to all these characters after Twin Peaks? Man, their lives just fucking sucked, man. What can you say? And it's like
me reading this book
okay.
me reading this the second time, I was just like, I mean, it was a lot more. I'm just taking notes for the show, but it also was just like, does this book still suck? Yeah, it still sucks.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I like in it,
It just
but
doesn't need to exist that much so far.
let me tell you about Ben Horn.
Please.
Okay.
This stuff I like. I wish this was in the show, actually. This is the one plot I wish was in the show.
Okay. I'm willing to be swayed.
Ben Horn sold the Ghostwood Estates, which is why Audrey doesn't want to talk to him anymore. But he sold it to an investment capital group who then built a private prison on the property.
No, Ben.
Wait.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ben.
So Ben Horn regrets selling Ghostwood. He has called the private prison an ugly blight on our great land. The prison is described as a brutish structure built by lowball contractors to save money and is considered the ugliest object in an otherwise pristine valley. At some point, workers attempted to unionize, but the company simply refused their right to bargain and just threatened to just bus workers from out of state. And the employees unfortunately backed down after hearing this. The arrival of the prison coincided with a sharp rise in alcoholism, depression, opioid use, domestic violence, suicide. Majority affected by these issues are prison employees and their families. This is the stuff that I like.
Twin Peaks: The Return. Whoa.
This is what I like, is Mark Frost getting political in the correct way, in the right way.
Yeah.
Because of course Ben Horn would do this, and this is like a real thing that has gotten worse since Twin Peaks aired.
Right.
Right.
And
I wish this plot was in the show.
This is a way more interesting explanation for like why there are bad things happening in Twin Peaks in 2017 than like there's a fundamental evil. Like that's cool and like that's David Lynchy, but to be like, well, actually it's because like systemic like a carceral state has arrived in Twin Peaks is way more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Agreed.
The prison is also working with local law enforcement to increase prison population.
Huh? What?
But Mark Frost very pointedly says, but not the Twin Peaks one, which is a coward's way out.
Don't do that.
Mark, you had it and you lost it.
Make us confront the fact that Andy Brennan has a quota, but like, let's really get into it. Let's really talk about it.
That's why the police office has more money and they can afford like a 911 thing now. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wait, that's so good.
I really wish this plot was in the show. When I say that I kind of like this book and I hate it in equal measure, this is what I'm talking about. Because these are in the same chapter as the Audrey shit.
Yeah.
This part I don't like. The chief administrator of the prison is Warden Murphy.
Wait, what?
That part.
From the season.
No, I know who Warden Murphy is. But what?
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
That part sucks. Yeah.
How does that make sense?
It's called Connected. Mr. Strawberry. I don't know. Maybe. Tammy speculates that maybe Bad Coop had some dirt on Warden Murphy, maybe pertaining to this prison. But I think it's a dumb attempt to connect it.
Sure.
That's dumb.
I don't need that.
This just makes me think about how much jail and prison stuff there was in Twin Peaks: The Return, like with Bill Hastings and the sheriff's department and South Dakota and Warden Murphy. And it would have been way cooler if that was in Twin Peaks' backyard. And it was like there was a point to that. But
yeah.
Anyway.
And it's also just a better arc for Ben. Like, that's not, do I fuck my coworker? Do I not? I think
What's
I
this
won't.
noise in the walls? No, I don't even. We're flirting.
I'm a nice guy now. I think I might just say goodnight instead of having sex with you. Anyway, my riches.
Just a way more interesting arc for the character, I think.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, that's it for Ben and Audrey. We're on to Jerry.
Okay, let's go.
Jerry Horn, conversationally adept in 4 languages.
Awesome. Incredible.
He has been always rich off that loud. He literally helped legalize weed in the state of Washington.
That's dope.
He once attempted to obtain a medical marijuana license to treat his addiction to marijuana.
Good.
It is rumored that he once collaborated with famed Canadian rocker Neil Young to build a custom sound system that effectively turned 2 of his cabins into gigantic speakers and utilizing a woodshed as a subwoofer.
Incredible.
The resulting wall of sound from certain recordings is rumored to create whitecaps on the water and terrify most of the indigenous life within a 5-mile radius.
What?
Okay, less cool.
Yeah,
not as cool anymore.
That's everything I wrote for Jerry Horn.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. You go, Jerry.
He was always into weed. That's the takeaway. He's just fucking rich off that loud.
I'm cool with that. That's cool to me.
Okay. Next we have a section of the book that I don't... It's just bonkers. The chapter is called The Double R, and I cannot stress enough, this page is short. It's 130-something pages. We have like a good 4 pages on Norma's mom and why she's the worst human being imaginable.
Oh my god, we're getting some MT Wentz lore right now?
Yeah, please.
So, Annie is Norma's half-sister.
Yep.
And only Norma really cared about her. Like, she was born with a shitty father who did not give a shit, and Vivian did not give a shit. So when Norma learned that Annie like existed, was the only person who like checked in with her, cared about her and stuff. The neglect drove Annie to attempt suicide at one point.
Okay.
And then the Vivian went through 4 husbands. Each of them died after being involved with her. Who's the guy that was in the show?
Ernie.
Immediately
pulled that. Didn't even have to blink to know. Yeah, John Ernie.
After his adventure in Twin Peaks, he like went back home, and she was like, "Nah, we're done." And so he just kind of fucked off and just like lived until he died, basically.
Okay, that's cool.
See you, Ernie.
I really just paraphrased all of that because I did not want to write notes about this section of the book because it's dumb.
Yes, it sounds dumb. Do we learn more about the Double R franchise at all?
No. Okay. It's called the Double R. I don't understand why. Because basically it's just Tammy Preston being like, and this woman, I would not want to be associated with her. Everything around her is evil, and I hope she burns in hell. And I'm like, okay, this is a lot. This character does not matter to the story, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we get Annie. Some Annie stuff.
Yeah, how's Annie?
We'll learn later, because this is just a general catching us up before we go into it. Mm-hmm. Here we learn about Cooper. So Cooper, as Tammy says, could never resist a bird with a broken wing. As you all know well, that is a central part of his makeup. White Knight syndrome, the irresistible urge to rescue every damsel in distress he came across. Largely, it stems from Hoover's mom being in an abusive relationship when he was a child.
Okay.
Wyndham Earle, chess grandmaster at 14.
What?
Congrats, man.
Was a founding member of the Blue Rose Group, non-mentioned in season 3.
At all.
I
Absolutely.
might add.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe David Lynch said, we don't need to mention this guy. This is where... So I mentioned way back before we started season 3 that I read My Life, My Tapes.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And this makes it canon.
Oh,
Because
no.
in that book, Wyndham Earle was always crazy and intentionally got Caroline and Dale Cooper together because he knew that they were attracted to each other and planned the whole thing from the start. And that is what Mark writes in this book.
No,
I can't
Mark,
understand.
that's
Don't understand
not
why he made this canon
interesting at all. What are you doing, Mark?
I love that he is interested in Wyndham Earle, and he's not interested in making him, well, interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that is just, it is, yeah.
I can't
it's
believe My
bad.
Life, My Tapes is canon. I love that.
It's Bad News Bears over here.
Is that all he says about Wyndham Earle? Is Wyndham Earle made it all happen on purpose?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
I mean, he mentions the disappearance, but not really much else.
Right.
But this is mainly just me realizing that My Life's My Tape was canon, which is insane to me. I believe, Tammy says, I believe Cooper's obsession with the Laura Palmer case harbors echoes of this tendency to be the White Knight syndrome, as she mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. That's actually in line with the themes at the end of the show, too. That works.
I need to make sure there's nothing else about Wyndham Earle in this book.
Yeah, please. Just if there's an index, if you just look in the index for WIND.
He completed training at Quantico with historically high marks.
Nice.
Yeah, it talks about him and Caroline, their relationship.
Okay. Seems like there's not a lot going on there.
And this is just going into My Life, My Tapes. Because basically what happens in that book is that Cooper is working on a series of investigations with Wyndham Earle. And it turns out that Wyndham Earle was behind all of the murders and set them up.
Oh my god. Whoa.
So this is just basically, My Life, My Tapes stuff.
Wyndham Earle's the Joker.
Yeah, and then, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he escapes prison, and that's it for that chapter. So, yeah.
Okay.
Did not miss anything important. Back in Twin Peaks, though.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
Annie, after the events of the show, didn't eventually recovered from her injuries, but didn't speak or acknowledge anyone. She moved in with Norma. 1 year to the date after she left the Black Lodge, she attempted suicide. And she also spoke her first words. Since that day, she said, "I'm fine."
Answering the question, how's Annie?
Norma kind of realizes that Annie kind of needs way more care than she's able to give. She was transferred to a private psychiatric hospital near Spokane and has been there since. Every year, once a year, saying to nobody, "I'm fine."
Ugh.
It's not the worst.
You guys mentioned this in your finale episode, by the way, for
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah.
But that's Annie. Miss Twin Peaks.
Oh,
Okay,
Lana!
Thank you. Give me the salve.
In Annie's absence, Lana Milford was made Miss Twin Peaks.
Bang, bang, let's freaking go.
Bing,
Give me more
bing.
Lana Milford. Is there more?
Feed me.
Lana Milford inherited some of Doug Milford's belongings after he died,
Great.
including
As he would have wanted.
one jade ring.
Whoa! Wait, hold on, pump the brakes. Excuse? Wait, first of all, how did? Oh, he had it because in the other book, they talked about him having it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the book goes on. Lana Milford eventually dates one Donald Trump,
Right.
who
Oh, we
could
knew
be
this.
seen wearing a jade ring.
Yeah. Okay. So was that suspected in the when we read the first book, or did we know
I
that?
think it was implied.
Yeah.
Don't
right,
remember.
I think it was implied.
But now it's explicitly said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. You know what? Great. So that means when Trump dies, he goes to the Black Lodge.
Well, he doesn't have the ring anymore,
Okay.
presumably.
Right. It left his hands at some point. God, that's awkward.
That's all I wrote. I don't think I'm missing anything that much.
Yeah, I wanted some Lana went on to perform spells at different magic conferences and seduce men across the country.
Let me see. This is Trump. Blah blah. Oh, they divorced at some point. The man she eventually married bested Doug Milford's matrimonial stamina by a substantial margin, as the happy couple lived in a wedded bliss all the way until 2008, when the Mongol dropped dead of a heart attack.
Not a great term to use.
During his morning jog on the beach. Once again, the widow Lana made out like a bandit. I hear tell then she drifted south of France, but at that point I lost track of her, or should I say interest.
Dang, Tammy, come on. This is the most interesting part of the book.
Brutal. Yeah, no, come back.
The last paragraph of this, or last line I should say, is, anyway, who cares? As my mother used to say, trash is trash, even if it's in a Tiffany bag.
Whoa. Tammy's so judgmental.
Damn.
Tammy does not give a fuck about Lana Milford.
Love
I feel like this is how FBI archivists write.
Not very professional.
You should see the fucking Vivian shit that she wrote.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's hold on. It's a lot.
When am I gonna get to the James stuff? That's what I want to know.
We'll get to the name stuff, don't worry.
Okay.
I'm not gonna find it. That's too much time wasted on Vivian. Anyway, Dr. Jacoby.
Okay.
After losing his license, he went to Hanalei Bay for 2 years.
Good for him. Good for him.
He did field studies with Hawaiian shamans and alternate medicines. There's some racist shit here that I just didn't write down.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
He spent most of 94 and 95 on the road with the Grateful Dead.
Okay, he's like the end of Freaks and Geeks. Okay, ties back in.
Side note here from Tammy. Gordon, did you know Albert is a stereo and vinyl enthusiast with a jazz collection that numbers in the thousands? I thought that was a fun side note.
Gordon's a jazz guy. You like jazz? He does.
Jacoby went to Amsterdam at one point. Nothing notable about that. He moved to Florida and helped recount the votes during the 2000 election.
Stop.
Whoa.
Stop it.
He offered counsel to Ralph Nader supporters, and coined what he termed defiant liberal denial syndrome.
Okay, interesting.
He also
Mark
just
Press
happened
is
to be
really interested in tracking his third partyism, I guess.
Also, to be extremely clear, Florida is the state that decided the Bush v. Gore election. I just checked.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. He also happened to be doing anthropological. He was at the Anthropological Museum at the Natural History when 9/11 happened.
Stop it.
Bad.
Why are we Forrest Gumping Dr. Jacoby?
That's well said.
Dr. Jacoby thought 9/11 was the first toll on the bell striking midnight for the American experiment. He predicted the government overreaction in terms of oppressing minorities, marginalized folks, and stuff like that.
I see. It's crucial to politics, I guess.
With 9/11 happening, he went back to Twin Peaks. He crafted the Dr. Amp brand and name. He started his show in 2006. It was an audio podcast before it went video in 2012.
He's Leo Laporte.
He started a podcast in 2006?
Yeah, he's Leo Laporte.
Cutting edge.
He is painted as the OG.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's
awesome.
Respect. That's
really
respect.
great.
That's pretty much the backstory
We,
for Jacoby.
in theory, would have been listening to Dr. Jacoby Magellan in middle and high school.
Adam Carolla looking ass over
Yeah,
here.
well, Mark Maron, eat your heart
Just
out.
Giant Bomb and Dr. Jacoby.
Yep. The early pioneers.
I just thought Jacoby's... There's more than one way to get into politics besides Forrest Gump being some fun.
Right.
I know,
Just have
right.
to be like, I saw 9/11 and I realized that was Dad.
All right. You said you wanted James?
Yeah. Give me
All right,
something to
we
bring
have-
me joy. Is
we
that
have
what
a
the James
chapter-
stuff does?
What's up?
Will the James stuff bring me joy? That's what I'm looking for right now.
I think so.
God bless.
Here we go.
This chapter aims to outline why Ed and Norma didn't get married for like decades. And
Okay.
one of them,
Yes.
so it was like Annie's whole thing, Nadine getting her memory back.
Yeah.
And then the third pillar of this was James's life. He went to trial for the murder of the husband in season 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
I read
The
that.
defense ripped apart his testimony,
Oh.
and James felt threatened by this. After a lawyer mentioned that he could be charged with perjury, and he fucking fled the scene.
Whoa.
No. James. Okay.
Does anybody want to guess where he fled to?
Ireland.
Magellan.
South Dakota.
Alan.
Ireland.
James fled to Mexico, working as a mechanic under an assumed name.
Ooh.
A year later, he repaired a car belonging to a cartel.
What?
And the cartel offered him work, and he took it.
What?
No,
What?
don't do this.
A rival gang came in to eliminate the cartel in a hostile takeover.
Stop it! What are you doing?
Yes, Mark, feed
The
me.
feds were involved. James was one of the shootout's few survivors, and he was taken in by the feds. He was bailed out by Truman and Gordon Cole. So Truman heard about this and phoned Gordon Cole, and Gordon was like, "Hey, can we get this guy back in the States?" But a warrant was still out for his arrest, so he spent 6 months in jail with a 2-year probation. If you want to know, the wife and the quote-unquote brother, they fucking went to jail, so
Malcolm and
they were found guilty of murdering that guy. Yeah, Evelyn's in prison.
Damn.
Sorry to say.
Okay.
Evelyn and Malcolm. Oh well.
That's bizarre.
You would think that James's escapades would be over. It's not.
Oh, thank God. Okay, give me more.
Yeah,
Then he flees to Canada.
He was not allowed to leave. He was not allowed to leave Oregon during like his probation because that's where the trial was.
Yep.
I do like the idea that James just biked to Oregon and then it's specifically Portland.
Mhm.
James just went to Portland and then met Evelyn. And then after he got out, James went off. Soon after this, Nadine opened the Drape Runner store, and
Okay.
Ed felt compelled to support that because it was an immediate success.
Nice. Run silent, run drapes.
Yeah.
This was no
James
James How I
event-
Met Freddy?
No.
Oh.
James eventually came back to Twin Peaks in 2006, this time on a bus, not on a motorbike.
Oh, he lost his bike.
James totaled his Harley in an accident involving a runaway coal truck in West Virginia, where he fractured his legs and ended up in
Oof.
a county rehab facility.
Oh.
Whoa. Oh my god.
Once his leg healed up, he came home and worked for Ed, and eventually took the security job at the Great North.
The
I said the
James
James
Northern.
North. And yeah, that's what is presumably where he meets Freddy.
Okay, so
Can-
they probably just both work there. Okay.
Can I expect my life to take several unfortunate turns? That's what I'm learning from this. Is that
You're
that's
gonna
how
be doing fine
life
for
works?
a while, and then just like a lot of shit's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, oh well, I guess.
Every one of these characters is just a list of, and then things went south in this way. And
Well,
then
James literally
this.
went south.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty funny.
Ed and Norma got married. James, quote, performed a song he wrote on his guitar during the ceremony.
Awesome.
One could imagine what that could have been.
Just you and I.
Andy bowed tears during the wedding,
I would.
and even Hawk shed a little tear.
That
Okay,
song.
Hawk, you old sap.
You're a big sappy. Perfect.
Margaret Coulson. It's supposed to be Margaret Lannerman. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, they got Catherine Coulson, Margaret Lannerman. Yeah, they mixed it up.
There's a bad speech from the log lady that Hawk reads at her funeral. It's like about darkness inside of us and like seeing the light. Also, it's really fucking bad. So, if you want to read it, it's probably out there somewhere, but it's fucking terrible. The stuff that was in the show is way better. It feels weird to have Mark Frost put words in her mouth.
Yeah.
Especially when Lynch had a special relationship to her and feels like he has a better handle on her character just because he wrote all the intros and stuff. So I thought that was a little disrespectful, I think. But we do get a little bit of information. She left the log to Hawk. He keeps it in his mantle. He says that it hasn't said anything to him yet, but he's keeping an ear open just in case.
Aww. I like that.
Sheriff Harry Truman apparently never abandoned his investigation into what happened to Cooper.
Aww. Boyfriends.
In season 3, he had cancer. He's still fighting.
Confirmed.
Frank Truman agreed to move back to Twin Peaks to take over the job for a couple years, with the understanding that he would step down once the department was stabilized and to hand the reins over to Hawk.
Okay.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you just don't give the Hawk in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Right. Then you can't joke about, it's the wrong Truman or whatever.
But yeah, they wrote a thing for Truman, and they had to have a Truman. All right, we're getting towards the end. We got Major Briggs.
Okay, now it's time for some lore.
We got some listening post alpha lore.
Yep.
Briggs staged his own death to trick Bad Coop when he realized that Bad Coop was Bad Coop.
Okay.
The book refers to the double as it, by the way.
Weird.
Tammy does.
Weird choice.
Which is interesting. Yeah. Briggs left a severely burned corpse to trick Bad Coop. My question was, what the fuck? Where did he just get a corpse? This is not explained at all. Let's see. Yeah, his body is what we saw in the show. Briggs gave Hastings and Davenport the secret history of Twin Peaks, basically. The attorney that Shaggy's wife was dating was also killed by Cooper. This is where it gets real.
Okay.
Evil Cooper.
Yeah.
Established and ran an international crime syndicate.
Okay.
He is a
Sounds
secret
right.
billionaire.
Whoa. Oh, he's the. He bought the mansion, or the fucking building with the box inside of it.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we
That
see
is him.
photos of that in the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
We figured that. But that's confirmed. Okay.
There's more detail. That is just a list of shitty things that Bad Coop's syndicate does that I'm not gonna detail because it's just excessive.
Yeah.
But it's basically every bad thing you can think of, Cooper has a hand in and makes a ton of money from. But Tammy kind of puts together that like Cooper not really interested in the financials that much, more interested in finding something from coordinates from breaks. That's why he's looking for breaks. This is where we get some clarification from Frost as to the nature of Bad Cooper.
Okay.
The way he
I'm
writes
curious
it here,
about that.
Tammy sort of speculates that Bad Cooper is a tulpa of Cooper who is then possessed by Bob.
Wait. Interesting choice.
We then go into the line from season 2 that Hawk gives, where if you go into the Black Lodge, you like face like all
shadow
the
self,
negative aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that, then bad shit happens. And Frost defines tulpa concept in the original Tibetan, an entity created or summoned by a dark magician or sorcerer through the practice of ancient and corrupt forms of esoteric magic, necromancy, demons, devil worship.
Yep. He read a Wikipedia article.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have on Bad Coop.
Is that meaningfully distinct from what we understood Bad Cooper to be before?
Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
It's a instead of it being like a mixture of Bob and Cooper. I mean, it is that though. Still, it's just specifically is a tulpa that is possessed by Bob, which is why the Bob orb is in him. But like, there's no Cooper orb in Dougie. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense.
It's nice to have an answer, like a clean answer for that, I suppose.
And it's specifically to like help make the Leland thing in season 2 make sense, because she talks about that as well, and she's like, well, if Bob's role is like possessing people, that means that Cooper's tulpa is an entity who is then partly possessed by another entity. It's meant to make that make sense.
I see. Okay, got it.
You got some Philip Jeffries stuff, which I didn't really, not really that much information. It's basically summing up what we already knew from the missing pieces and the show. One thing that Tammy points out very pointedly is that in Firewalk with Me, Jeffries asked what year it was, and Tammy says, why was he so distraught upon learning what year it was? Why would he ask a question like that in the first place? And then we get Jeffrey's research into Jowday.
Okay. This is the
Okay,
lore I want.
yeah.
We're gonna finally learn everything. about Judy.
Tammy discovered Jowday written on Jeffrey's wall with a pocket knife. That was in 97. And then Tammy also does a Wikipedia search for Jowday.
Mm-hmm.
Jowday is an ancient entity in Sumerian mythology. The name was used to describe a species of wandering demon that escaped from the underworld and roamed freely throughout the earth, where they feasted on human flesh and ripped the souls from their victims. They particularly thrived while feeding on human suffering.
Okay.
These beings were said to appear in both male and female forms. Jowday indicated to be the female, and then the male known as Baal, which was later became known as Beelzebub. The marriage of these two would cause the end of the world as we know it.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I think what Mark Frost is saying here is that Bob is Beelzebub and Jowday is Jowday, and then
that's the most boring possible version of that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm so glad that's not in the show. God, that would ruin the show so much.
We're not even at the worst of what will ruin the show. Ray Monroe.
Ooh.
Not really about Ray Monroe, more that these chapter names are confusing because it doesn't actually
concern the person.
Anyway, the Dutchman's is not there anymore.
It faded out.
The Dutchman's is, I like this. The Dutchman's is located equidistant between Missoula and Twin Peaks.
Ooh. Cool. Cool detail.
And then Tamara speculates that Jeffries says, "Who do you think that is there?" Because Jeffries thought he was seeing the double. He wasn't foreshadowing the future, but more so he met Cooper and the Dutchmans, and noticed that it was Cooper's doppelganger. And because he is an entity that exists at a time, he didn't know what year it was, so he just assumed that that was Cooper's doppelganger.
Okay, sure.
Interesting.
So then are we to believe that Cooper is starting to feel unstuck from time at the end of the series when he asked that question?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we go to present day. Hey, we're done with archive stuff.
Okay, welcome back.
It's a short book, I told you, but all right, here we go. Tammy, in research, went looking through old Twin Peaks news articles and found that Laura Palmer, an article that said that Laura Palmer went missing. In bold text, Tammy says Laura Palmer did not die. There's an article that says that it is still listed as opening and pending investigation.
Oh.
Wait, so Tammy remembers the unofficial version as well, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
She says that when I spoke to our good friends at the sheriff's office about this, they all got slightly dazed and confused, fresh expressions on their faces when I brought it up, as if they were lost in fog, having trouble recalling, unable to fully wrap their minds around something that happened so very long ago. Until finally they said, each and every one of them, "Yeah, that sounds right. That's how I remember it."
So,
Tammy now lives in the world where Laura was not killed.
Yeah.
But also that didn't change anything about the world or what happened to everybody?
So, here we go. Ronette still got attacked and injured, so she was still, that still happened to her, I guess.
Yep.
Leland committed suicide in front of the waterfall in his grief. That's all the kind of details we get from this alternate timeline.
Okay.
Is that Ronette stuff and the Leland thing. This is where Tammy looks into the history of Sarah Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, dude. Alright. This is kind of like the big lore drop at the end of the book.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Sarah Palmer's full name is Sarah Judith Novak Palmer.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Her childhood was spent in New Mexico.
She's New Mexico.
Her father was a Defense Department employee who had transferred her to work on some small but unspecified subcontractor on the Manhattan Project. And then Mark Frost basically summarizes part 8. He said that people heard electrical or mechanical word sounds out of the radio, which is a weird description for that. Sarah's parents noticed that she was passed out, like a lot of the people in the town were, so that they rushed her to the hospital, but they found nothing wrong with her, and she was fine.
They just found a big frog moth in her stomach.
They did not find that. She's fine. And that's kind of it for that. We do get final thoughts from Tammy, where she more or less has an existential crisis upon learning that she lives in an alternate timeline. There was one part of this that I like. Before this, though, she says, and this is interesting, I think, "Chief, I'm glad I've written all of this down rapidly because my own thoughts about every one of these events are growing fuzzier and more indistinct the longer I stay here, creeping into my mind like a mist. I can feel a kind of mental lassitude physically advancing on me. Something's wrong. Whether it's with me or this place, I don't know, and I don't really care anymore. I need to pull the emergency brake right now and get the hell out of here. I booked a flight back to Philadelphia tomorrow." Basically, the end of the book is her writing things down, like forcing herself to remember things that is like changing in the reality around her. And then the end of the book is her being like, what the fuck is the point of human existence? Is the evil in us real? Is it an intrinsic part of us? Blah blah blah. And basically it goes on about like mysteries and like you know, what does it mean to like do our jobs and like chase after things that are like unknowing and just like beyond our comprehension. And then she ends the book. She says, one clear idea emerges from that crucible, forged in a hard as rolling steel. We mustn't give up ever. That's the book.
I like the how evocative that ending is. Like,
it's good.
Yeah.
The rest of the book, you know,
not so much ups and downs. It sounds like.
So, reading this book to you guys, and watching this show for the second time, I could understand why David Lynch did not draw as clear lines between Sarah Palmer and Judy, because it sucks.
It feels like Mark Frost saw a bunch of dots in this, like David Lynch drew like a constellation, and he didn't draw the lines. And Mark Frost is like, well, you got to draw the lines. And David Lynch is like, no, I drew the constellation. He's like, no, you have to draw the lines. And like drew these lines that just like, okay, yeah, they're connected now. I understand the part 8 matters because that was Sarah in New Mexico, and the bug might have been Judy, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, great, I understand it now. But I don't feel better about it. Like, that's not satisfying that those lines are connected to me.
It makes me wonder how much of that was on the table in terms of what was already canon, what Mark already considered canon.
And he's just formally saying it in this book.
Yeah, and Lynch making a conscious effort not to directly connect them, to leave it more up for interpretation.
Right.
Because then you just run into the idea that Sarah Palmer was always evil when that's not my read.
No way.
Right. Yeah, that's my thing with that is I feel like a big issue I have with the Judy stuff is what are we saying there? We're saying that Sarah Palmer has always, like you said, been this evil entity, like even more purely evil than Bob or whatever. What? Like, I think it makes sense when you were talking about the idea of Jowday as this being that sort of feeds on suffering or whatever, for Judy to be with Sarah now in the aftermath of everything. But I don't know. I just don't really get what we're doing.
That's
here.
More my read on it. And to her credit, this is also Grace Zabrisky's read on it, is that in the absence of anybody in her life to like check in on her and like be a support structure, she kind of just formed this sort of like darkness in herself.
Yeah.
And Judy is kind of like feeding off of that in a way, or is part of that in some way.
That makes sense to me.
Because doesn't Sarah always having a piece of Judy in her make the impact of everything that happened with Leland and Laura like?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Right. Then it's like, oh, they were both evil. She had an evil parent. Like, what? No, that's not the material reality of what happened.
Right.
And it just makes more sense to me that it would be about people being left behind. Like, she, like, in season 2, like, she didn't have anything else to do.
We just stopped talking
when her arc
to
was
Sarah
over.
Palmer. Yeah.
All she had was Cooper being like, your husband did not do these things. And then that's it.
And she sat for a while, and then, yeah.
This book,
This book to me, I just was like thumbing around the wiki, and there is a great question, and by great I mean enlightening. A question from a fan here. You know how they have like questions at the bottom of wiki pages or whatever, and people answer them. He said, and I quote, "Why is Gordon Cole deaf?" As in, like, what narrative purpose, and is there an in-universe explanation for how Gordon Cole went deaf? which is like a perfect example of what this book aims to do. Is like, nobody fucking cares why Gordon Cole is deaf. It's interesting, and it makes for a character with a distinct trait. Not like, well, we have to explain how he's deaf because you can't just have a character, have a disability. And the funniest thing is the answer to that also is that Lynch said he delivered his lines really loudly, and they thought it was funny to make his character deaf.
It's just a funny joke that they did.
Yeah, like to make answers for things that even sometimes were just a funny joke or sometimes were way more impactful when they didn't have answers is like ultimately very frustrating. One might argue,
I don't know.
Even like damages the brand a little bit or damages the story in my mind, because it's like one of the people who worked on this had answers for all of this, and it's like I didn't want those.
I think
it just makes me appreciate the show a little bit more in terms of what is left unsaid.
Yeah.
This also makes me appreciate the secret history more. I mean,
Yeah.
like at least there, he's filling in some random bullshit about like fucking Richard Nixon or whatever. Like, sure, man, that's fun. There's aliens and lots of people interact with the lodge. Why not? Why not have fun with it? And then this, it's like, I just don't like. There's a part of me that wanted to know, what happens to James? What happens to, or what happened in the intervening years to Bobby and Shelley or whatever? But then not being able to see it and just being told about it through Tammy Preston doesn't feel like a story. Right? It's just like sort of some facts about characters. And when it's not a story, I don't really know how to make a meaning of that. And I think that
like it's not like a novel, right? It is just like case files that you just read.
Right.
Case files.
Case files. And that's not that interesting because I want to like experience stories of these characters as opposed to, and then, Ed Hurley did this and then he did this and then he did that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I think the book did a little bit of a better job than I did because I just took bullet points, but yes, I also agree.
I think you did a great job. And I am sorry that you had to read this book.
It's the very short book. It's okay. The thing I was gonna say was like, if this book feels like the how shows they have like the Bible for like the show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
This feels like that. And like the thing with those is you don't want the audience to see it. You don't read those because you will learn the rules of the text, and it just eliminates all possibility for what
that's a really
you can
good
create
point.
in that world. So I feel like Mark Frost, like some part of him was not happy with things that were left on the table in season 3 and felt compelled to sort of just resolving some things from season 2, put in stuff that was like what he had in his head for season 3 that maybe we didn't need to hear.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I appreciate about this is that it really felt like the Return was not that interested in like returning to all of the characters of Twin Peaks. We sort of get these weird vignettes and like frustratingly unfinished stories about them. And at least here, Mark Frost is trying to think through like what's the connecting thread that gets these characters from here to here, and like where does their story end up, which is something that I wanted, I think, but I'm not.
But then the problem is they all end up in like mental hospitals, and it's like, well, why did you write this thing?
Right.
Yeah. It's really frustrating. Again, there are like a few things I like about it. I like the stuff at the end. I like the Ben Horn plot.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
If there was one plot I wish Lynch would have taken from this, would be that, because I think that's more interesting material for Ben Horn. But yeah, it's very frustrating. I like the implication that something is all wrong with Sarah. I don't like that she's literally the kid in Mexico, because that could be anybody. It doesn't matter that it's Sarah. Like, what difference does it make her being... What difference does it make? It's functionally the same thing. Judy and Bob exist in the world. That's what Part 8 is about.
Right.
It does. You don't need Sarah there.
Right.
It can just happen without her. It's really frustrating.
Ray Skywalker.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God, Alan, you're so right. This book feels like a Ray Skywalker.
Yeah. 100%.
after The Last Jedi was like, I'm Ray from nowhere, or whatever it was.
Yep. And then they were like, no, but actually, people want to know.
Yeah. Ugh.
Is Twin Peaks the Final Dossier, the Rise of Skywalker of Twin Peaks? Those are really hard.
It's not that bad.
It's not.
It's working off of a way better show.
Yeah.
And you can just simply disregard this. Like, yeah, sure, it's quote unquote canon, however much that matters to you. But like, this isn't in the text of the show necessarily. You can just watch the show and never read this. Whereas with Star Wars, it's like that's the next movie in the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's I think you're right.
Yeah.
But the comparison's there. Are there any lingering questions in Twin Peaks now? Now I'm just like, and yet people still are like, season 4 when?
I don't know how you do a season 4. So many of the cast is gone. Even like the Buckhorn cop is dead. It's like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you get people.
Well, because what you could
it.
do is do everyone's kids, which is what every fucking reboot does these days. But like, does anybody want that?
That's not. Well, Lynch has said that like he likes the idea of Carrie Page.
Okay.
But you're not gonna greenlight a Carrie Page show.
No network is gonna be like, hell yeah.
Nobody's gonna do that. And I think that Mark Frost is more or less done with Twin Peaks at this point. Like, he co-wrote season 3. He wrote 2 books. He said that he's pretty much done. So.
He's run out of ways to insert his political beliefs into the story.
God, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker who was like, so do you think they're going to do season 4? And I was like, season 3 was so much about, can we do this? Why are we doing this? That like, what could season 4 even be and why?
And like at the end of season 3, like we get like the Lynch and Frost logo and it's completely silent.
Yeah.
That's just like, that just feels like it's done.
Right.
You know?
As much as the ending,
the lights off on Twin Peaks.
Yeah, as much as the ending of season 3 is like disturbing, it does feel final to me. Like it feels like it's saying the thing that The Return was trying to say, and I can't imagine what comes after it without like undermining that or cheapening that or having to explain that in a way that like removes what it is to a certain extent. So I think it's done. That's okay. We got a lot of it.
Things can end, and the fan theories are kind of what makes it fun.
Yes.
To begin with.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't really like, if Lynch wants to make another thing, cool, but it has to be from him because it's not going to be interesting otherwise.
Yeah.
He's not going to do something unless it's interesting to him. So.
Yeah, and I respect that as a creative person until you have the clout to say, I'm just not going to return to this. That I know some people want, but I'll take a new Lynch movie. I'll take a new Lynch show. I highly unlikely that'll happen in our lifetime, but
yeah, it's fucking bummer. He was supposed to do a thing with Netflix, and then COVID happened, and that kind of is put on hold or whatever. Damn. So,
but
yeah.
Do we want to take a brief musical break and then we can read some emails and then do some rankings?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
Good.
Okay, we'll be right back with some more fun Twin Peaks content.
This is the keyboard that all the major themes were created for Twin Peaks. It's an old Fender Rhodes and kind of beat up. And David would sit right over here, right to the right of me, and we would put a little cassette just about over here on this keyboard, just keep it in record and just keep it playing. David would sit here and I'd say, well, what do you see, David? Just talk to me. And David would say, okay, Angelo, we're in a dark woods now. And there's a soft wind blowing through some sycamore trees. And there's a moon out, and there's some animal sounds in the background. And you can hear the hoot of an owl. And you're in the dark woods, you know, just get me into that beautiful darkness with the soft wind. And I started playing.
Welcome back to PeaksChatz. This is the second half of our Twin Peaks finale, grand finale of PeaksChatz. Hey, everybody. It's still Alan, Magellan, and Ryan. Hi.
Hey.
We did a Twin Peaks character tier list a little while back. That was early in season 3, right? And we just didn't have the full context.
Yeah, it was right after part 8.
And yes, to prevent Magellan from getting spoiled, we obscured several characters from our tier list. Also, somebody mentioned, I don't know if it's going to be on this, but was Dougie Milford? Oh, he is on here. Someone said, like, you guys missed
it was the bank guy.
Del
Nibbler. Del Nibbler, iconic.
Del Nibbler.
Let's just clear
ripped
that
to a real one.
Yep. So, to reiterate, in case you haven't listened to the episode, we have our tiers here. They are from best to worst. Iconic. That's a sweetie, all right. Nice. Mr. C. Who's Annie? Drawer pull. And was always cool. So I guess they're not really best to worst, but just best to worst to James.
He's south of the border in this tier list right now.
Boof.
Yeah.
He did really go south.
All
on
right.
Our list.
Of the ones we have left, we have Becky.
I can't.
Who's Annie? I don't know.
I can't give her a good rating. I do like Amanda Seyfried a lot.
Becky.
I was disappointed by Becky, if anything. Yeah. How do we define Mr. C?
Just like the kind of a blank, like, meh.
Yeah, I think she's actively not good. So I think she fits in Who's Annie. IMO.
You didn't like when she shot up an apartment?
No.
That part was kind of cool. That
No, I
acting was
did not.
that shot of her looking up in the car is still really, 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 really cool. But otherwise, no, that's not her. So
We made Ike the Spike a Who's Annie? Come on. I'm a good man. Let's go.
I'm a good man.
Can we hold on? Can we change this to
Good man.
Good man.
You're changing nice to good man. Can you change it to I'm a good man?
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Yeah.
I'm a good man.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ryan.
Awesome. Very good work.
And I like that Ben Horn is.
Yeah, that's thematically appropriate. He's a good man, yeah. And so is Constance.
So is Jade and the new arm. Yeah. Very cohesive category.
I don't remember the name, but it's Jim Belushi.
Yeah. The Mitchum brothers. There's
Bradley
Rodney
Mitchum.
and Bradley.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is my favorite
Bradley.
game.
I think
Bradley
wherever the
Mitchum.
Mitchums go, they belong together, right?
Yeah.
Sure. I think
they're
there's.
sweeties.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's
Yes,
get
we
Bradley and Rodney in the sweetie category there.
Is Rodney in here?
He's towards the end.
Oh, yeah. Left.
Oh,
Yep.
there
There
he
you
is.
go. Rodney, you both are going to the sweetie category. That's a sweetie,
Congrats,
all right.
bros.
We
Oh, my
have
God.
Candy.
Candy.
Based on our podcast, absolutely 100% iconic.
I don't know. I don't think she's lower than I'm a sweetie. Oh, that's a sweetie, all right.
Okay, I won't take
Right.
any lower than that. If you guys want to compromise, I'm not taking any lower than that's a sweetie.
I can do Sweetie.
Yeah, I don't want to dilute the iconic.
The thing is, like, she's interesting, but I can't tell how much of it is like I find Amy Shields attractive as a person.
That too.
Yeah, the whole.
But
vibe
she is good
weird,
in it. She is
but
really
she's good
good.
in it.
You know,
Yeah.
But a
can do
lot of it is
Sweetie.
also what we brought to that like character. So
It's
I'll
very
probably-
interpretive, her character.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can-
Carrie Page.
Carrie Page, yeah.
It's an interesting one. Specifically Carrie Page.
I mean, the whole point of Carrie Page is that we don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a hard character to categorize.
I mean, we could put her next to Laura.
True.
I don't see why not. I think that Cheryl Lee does a great job. So why not? She's part of the other side of the coin of the icon.
She does a whole different accent, which is wild to me.
Yeah.
And she did it well.
Yeah, I was going to say that performance is good. 2 fun facts, by the way, about Amy Shields, the actress who plays Candy. Number 1 is she is Irish, which is just fun. And number 2 is she plays Noctis's wife in Final Fantasy 15. Like a very like the main heroine of the game.
What? You just fucking blew my mind.
Luna Freya.
What on earth?
In Final Fantasy 15 is her. That's so weird.
God. The Square Enix casting was so ambitious.
Yeah, seriously. It's because they saw her in that. Actually, no,
God damn.
That pie is good.
Chantel.
I mean, I love her.
I'm a good man.
You think?
Right?
I really like Chantel.
higher.
I really like Hutch and Chantel.
I do too. I liked it so much more on this watch. And I also think they have to go somewhere together.
I honestly think they're sweeties.
I was deeply bored of Hutch and Chantel.
Are you kidding?
Why?
You weren't entertained when she looked at the moon and said, "That's Mars."
That's Mars.
I was not.
Were you not
my
entertained?
God.
Were you not entertained?
When Cooper gave her a bag of Cheetos, and Hutch was like, "Yeah, go ahead and give him a wet one."
That was okay.
How about when they talk about how the government kills people all the time and it's not
I was
that bad,
not. I was not entertained by that.
Oh,
I gotta be honest. I
You
mean,
did you like the way they died?
it was interesting, I guess.
Oh my
Just
god, we are not the same. We are not the same.
I like that they were killed randomly because it never mattered that they existed. So that kind of made sense.
It does matter. They're Cooper's boys, and they're fucking cartoons. They're great.
I'm willing to be outvoted. I'm the dissenting opinion here.
I mean, I absolutely won't put them like higher than That's a Sweetie, but I think That's a Sweetie is where they belong. I think I love them.
I agree.
If we're gonna give the Mitchum brothers That's a Sweetie, they're not worse than the Mitchum brothers.
But I don't think they're better than Harry Truman or Donna or Constance or Philip Jeffries. Like,
This
I
is
think they're better than Philip Jeffries.
This is the video game reviews problem, where somebody like gives a game like an 8 and then gives another game a 9, and then people are like, "But you said this game was better than this game?"
Right.
True,
No,
true,
it's
true,
on
true.
a fucking per character basis, okay?
Yeah, you have to grade
That's
them
fair.
individually, not on the overall scale.
That's fair. I'll take that point.
Charlie
Oof, what's the worst one called
The
again?
worst one, yeah.
is
What's the fuck
called
this guy
Drawer
gets? Drawer
Pull.
Pull.
Drawer pull.
I think he gets the first season 3 drawer pull. Actually,
I
that's not true. But
Can't
yes, definitely
argue.
drawer pull.
I can't argue with that, so I'll do it.
Oh no, he is. Yeah, he's the first season 3 drawer pull. Congrats.
Right next to
No,
Empty
no.
Wentz.
Empty wins. Let's go.
What's his face?
Awesome.
Lenovo ThinkPad's also a drawer pull. My bad.
No way.
We'll
Yeah,
have
we
that. We'll have that argument.
No, we already did. We put him in there. We had
Oh, we
that
put him
Oh,
in
we
drawer
did.
pull.
we had that
Okay,
argument.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh,
Duncan Todd.
fair enough.
Wait. Before you scroll back up, the person to the left of Empty Wentz, quick, who can name that person first?
Fuck, you can't
Malcolm,
do this to me.
No, not Malcolm. Tony. Broken. Bargo.
I don't even know who this is looking at it.
He's like a.
He's like
Andrew
season 2 old
Packer.
man guy.
Andrew
He's like
British.
yeah.
No, he's South African.
He's
got
not
Jones. I know
Andrew
Jones.
Packer.
What?
He's the other guy. He's the other guy.
Yeah.
No, he's not Andrew.
Yeah, he's
No.
the other guy
He's the other guy.
Fuck.
who like talks to
my
Andrew in
Lord.
the elevator. You remember how that was part of Twin Peaks, the show?
I'm alone. Fuck. Who was he? Oh my god.
Thomas Eckhart.
Okay. Whoa. Found it. Oh my god. Oh.
Quite
This hurts
fun.
my brain.
Quite fun. Anyway, back to the business at hand.
I'm alive.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
I'm alive.
Detectives Fusco.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
They're fun.
I'm a
Yeah,
good
they're
man.
fun. I think I'm
I'm
a
a
good
good.
man.
Yeah, I'm a good man. Yeah.
I'm a good man.
All right, so we have Jowday,
Oh,
if we're
God.
presuming
That That's what the experiment.
If we're
is.
taking Mark Frost's words as canon.
The thing in the box.
I don't know. What do you both think about that?
Based on what we just discussed,
It's a fucking Who's Annie?
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say who's Annie.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah,
Annie
let's get
/ who's Judy?
Yeah, who's Judy?
If we had not read or heard you read that book, Ryan, I would have maybe considered even like higher, but no way. Like Mr. C, but no. Yeah, who's Annie / Judy? Thank you.
Good.
What's the new name of the tier?
Freddy.
Oh.
This is me destiny.
All the Freddy stuff is so dumb that it loops around to being kind of
It's
fun.
very season 2 energy, and it's ridiculous because it's Lynch's idea.
Right.
Yeah.
His idea that he had for years and years and years. It's like, finally, I can do that garden glove thing I've been wanting to do.
There's a line that Tammy gives in that book that's like, don't even get me started on this Cockney kid. And somebody asked Mark about it, and Mark was like, 2 words, Deus Ex Machina. So it just leads me to believe he also doesn't like it.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, where do we rate Freddy?
Mr. C?
That's what I was
Maybe.
feeling.
Yep.
He's just not got
Interesting
that
character.
much going on.
Great season 2 energy.
Funny joke, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the actor does a good job with telling the story.
The Bob Ball scene is it's so much less interesting to me the second time.
it's
Like the first time I was like, I have no idea. Now I'm
I
like,
actively disliked it.
Yeah.
Oh,
who's
This is Johnny
Johnny Horn. Yeah, Johnny
not
Horn.
Johnny. No. Wait. Oh yeah, Johnny Horn. Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
the bear says, hello,
This is
Johnny.
killing me. Anyway, I think we
Drawer-
gotta say drawer pull.
I think it's
Just morally.
and it's the
Yeah.
show, right? Like it's the show being like, this is not a character.
Richard Horn.
I love to hate him. I love to hate him though.
I don't.
I feel like this guy's a drawer pull to me.
I still, watching this show twice, don't know why he's in here.
He could be a Who's Annie. Like, what were you going for with this guy?
Oh sure.
Like, if he was supposed to be, like, the son of, like, the being of evil, it didn't really do anything interesting with it. He's just an asshole.
Right. It's just like, hey, he's evil.
Yeah, if this was a fantasy epic, he would have like taken on the mantle of like the king of evil, and it would have been really metal.
Yeah.
But as it is, I think he's a Who's Annie / Judy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that works.
Nope.
Okay.
We got Teapot Kettle
Jeffries.
I would
Okay.
like to note that these are 2 separate entries because we already have
Yeah,
Jeffries.
there's David Bowie there, and then there's Teapot.
Mhm.
I like Teapot Jeffries. That's cool to me.
It's an interesting direction for the character.
Mm-hmm. It's
Not
body
like Teapot aside, like him being like, Mark Frost describes him as like the navigator of the underworld.
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
it's
that's a
an
cool
interesting-
vibe.
Interesting place to put him as a character.
I fuck with that.
I fucks with it. That's a sweetie.
I was gonna say good man.
Yeah, either way. I could go either way. I think let's put him with Bowie Jeffries, and they're just
Put him
in the same spot.
tier. Good man.
Yes.
I'm a 2 good men separately depicted.
I'm a no longer man.
I'm
Bum,
on
bum, ba-dum.
Teapot.
Oh, Steven. Yeah.
Drawer pull. Adios, bud.
Get the hell out of here. I feel bad for that actor. I want that actor to just play like a nice guy in something. He like plays
He
so
was
Just
in
having,
Get
like, a
Out.
good
He's
time.
doing fine.
I know he's doing fine. I just mean like I want to see him play a different character. He's getting typecast.
Yeah, that's fair. Beverly Horn.
Beverly.
Beverly, isn't her name Sylvia?
Sylvia.
Oh, so oh my God,
Bev-
who's Beverly?
Beverly's
Beverly
coming up.
is
The one that
Beverly
Ben
is
wants to cheat
works with
but
Horn.
doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's it's 2 names that Ben Horn says in season 3. That's what tripped me up.
Sylvia Horn. I think Sylvia Horn. Oh, I have nothing to get. I have no positive quality
I think this is the definition of a who's Andy, because she's just there to get choked out.
Yeah.
I think she's a who's Annie.
The show could have done better by all of this Audrey stuff.
Yeah. This guy.
We have the
arm
guy
wrestling guy.
What's the name of the place? The Farm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Renzo!
This guy's great.
His name is
Renzo.
He's really good.
That's a sweetie, all right. Right.
the bald guy from Part 13 for people at home.
Or he's a good man.
This is a good example of this is the example of the return at its best, where like a character gets one scene, but it's a fucking banger.
Iconic. No, sorry, I don't mean iconic the role. I don't mean iconic the tier. I just mean like, character is lowercase I iconic.
We put Little Nicky in iconic. I just looked at that again. What a chaotic
Well, we had like a whole fight about that. We had a row.
I know. I know. He's also right next to Wally Brando, but Wally Brando is iconic.
Yeah.
Let's put Renzo in. I'm willing to go as low as I'm a good man, and no lower than that.
That's where I want him.
Okay.
Get some Mr. C's.
Mr. Jackpot's lady.
The woman who becomes rich thanks to Mr. Jackpot's. She does not have a name, so I can't wiki her.
Yeah, Mr. C to me.
Oh wait, no, does she? Because she says like, "Oh, my nephew's name is something." Maybe I can learn her name. I'm committed to her. Not relevant. Maybe she's a Mr. C.
Yeah, I think so.
Now I'm so curious if she has a name. What was it? Part 16? No, 15. When
I think it's earlier actually.
Yeah, I think it's earlier than that.
It might be 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy, fucking Red.
Shelly's fucking boyfriend guy.
Drawer pull to me.
Drawer pull.
Remember when we couldn't believe it was his last ep?
Yep. He did that thing with
He was
the
being
plane.
set up to be like a minor antagonist, then he's like, bye, I'm not in the show anymore.
That's really
ridiculous.
I love that for him.
Fuck, what's her name? Shit.
Oh, man.
Fuck.
It starts with an M.
Miriam, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, one of those characters that is there to be attacked.
Who's Annie?
Yeah.
I think it's one above Who's Annie, because she does get that scene with the pie.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good scene. I liked your argument about that scene a lot.
I think we got to do
Nido.
Drawer Pearl on the racism.
Yeah.
Nido's
I'm down
a
for that.
default Jorpal, yeah. She is.
I think we
Just
do
the
not.
exoticism there.
We should criticize the show for once again having a white person be an Asian person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
In a
Can't believe they
bespoke,
did it
similar
again.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it's artsy doesn't mean it's good. Anyway,
Bam.
the
The
fucking Roadhouse
MC
guy.
is iconic. Let's put him at the top of the list.
I have to agree.
Yeah. Mostly
Except
great.
for the Roadhouse playlist. That's the right choice.
I love
Such a
him.
good voice. Such a memorable voice. Like
I love him. Oh my
That's
God,
season 2
I love
energy
him.
also.
Yes, big time.
He's great. We have
This is the woman in the 911 in the sheriff's department running the 911.
Oh, the dispatcher.
Yep.
yeah.
Mr. C? I don't know a thing about her.
There's nothing about her. I'm surprised she's on this list. Something to know.
Yeah. Shitty guy Norma was dating.
Norma's shitty, rich boyfriend, man. Who's Annie? No. Drawer pull?
I'm down for that.
I'm down for that. I don't like him.
He has a name. I don't care enough to look it up. This is getting easier. Give me a tough
I mean,
one.
once you know where the story goes, his character is just disposable. So
Can we rescue Duncan Todd from the drawer pulls and make him a Who's Annie?
yes, but I want to hear your reasoning.
Because he's the Lenovo ThinkPad guy.
I'm literally looking at my Lenovo ThinkPad right now. It's on my desk. And I love that actor. And also the scene where he dies is one of the best cinematography parts of The Return. Controversial.
I think to me the definition of a Who's Annie is like, no, you were gonna
You were
give me
gonna
some
do
more
something.
there, and that to me is what it's like. Come on,
They had a potential. There was a potential that was not met.
And a drawer pull is like, no.
There was never
no,
potential.
Stop
here.
it. Stop that. Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
Finally, almost at the end of the list, we're defining the list.
This is how these things go. Beverly.
The real Beverly. What's her name? Last name Hirsch, I think.
Sure.
This is either a Who's Annie or a drawer pull to me.
Was there?
I
ever
think
potential?
who's Annie. I don't think she's a drawer pull.
Okay. I think there's potential in like Ben having an arc where he like considers infidelity and like his morality that's not handled. TBH.
The scene with her husband is interesting, but
Yeah.
they don't do
Yes.
anything with it. They just forget
Yes.
it exists.
I keep
Yeah,
forgetting that scene exists.
that's why to me she's a who's Annie, is because it's like, okay, there's something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just so many one-off things about season 3 that are like that.
Lightly
Yeah.
disappointing. Now Chad.
Chad,
Chad, I can get
he's the villain that I like to hate in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to give him I'm a good man.
I think he's Mr. C.
Yeah, that's fair.
He fits in with everything else there. Yeah. I
Yeah,
really
the
just feel
jumping
like that
man.
guy.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I just feel like the guy who plays Chad has to be into improv. He like feels like somebody who's in improv, and that fucks me
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
I can shake that. I don't think he is, but I don't know. Anyways, you want to know a fun thing about
Jumping
the Jumping
Man.
Man? Besides the fact that we learned that it was Sarah Palmer's face, the actor who plays him in Fire Walk with Me also played Gary Cole in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. Let me just untangle that sentence that I just solved while we were between recordings.
But is
The guy-
Gary Cole?
Yeah, Gary. There's a scene where like Austin like either talks to or meets Gary Cole or something as like a gag, and instead of getting Gary Cole, they got another guy, and it's this guy. That's all. That's all I have about him.
Oh, wait.
Gary Cole,
Actor
the actor.
Gary Cole?
Gary Cole, the actor, instead of being in the movie, is portrayed by this guy.
And the movie just says this is Gary Cole?
Yes,
You could have got Gary Cole. The guy likes to do comedy.
I think he was just around. Yeah, it's not like he wouldn't have been in your movie.
That's
I don't.
so
I wish it's
weird.
been just long enough since I've seen that one that I forget what the context was.
That's weird. I don't know anything about the Jumping Man.
There's nothing.
What's up with it?
He's just a cool, evocative dude.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Gary Coleman. Excuse me, not Gary Cole. Gary Coleman, because they kind of look similar, I guess. If you see the actor's face, I've been saying Gary Cole like the guy from fucking Office.
Oh,
Space.
Gary Coleman is a totally
And
different
then
person.
Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman. Jeez Louise.
Okay, I see. That's super weird.
Carlton
Who's
Rios.
Annie?
Yeah. Jumping Man's who's Annie, that works.
I do like that this dude's face is like completely stretched.
Okay, last one. Diane's
Diane.
Diane's Tulpa.
I think it's just Diane. It's the only Diane that's here.
Yeah, if we're just grading this up. Well, if it's just Diane, then I would rate it lower. I like Diane's Tulpa more than I like Diane. Controversial.
Okay, here's the thing. When she is introduced, Gordon Cole says she was always like that.
Okay, so those personality traits are just Diane.
Yeah.
Okay, I would actually give her That's a Sweetie, all right. I really like Diane. She's fucking hilarious. She says fuck a lot. She's got great hair, great outfits.
What do you think, Magellan?
I think the big question mark for me, I mean, if what you're saying is true, Ryan, that Gordon Cole's like, this is just how Diane is, then I would agree. But the way that she's portrayed in part 17 is confusing to me and makes me question who Diane is. But I think the Tulpa stuff is interesting. I think that Laura Dern is incredible. So I think That's a Sweetie, all right, sounds right to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're done.
We did it.
Ranked
The tier list
every
is complete.
These are way too many characters to name on audio.
No, we'll
I
post
will
an image
post.
of this.
Let's just give it one once over, see if there's anybody that we want to move.
Hank should
This
be
is our
iconic.
last chance.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is our last chance. Just
Hank
take a look
should,
at the
Hank should be
category.
iconic. Let's take Bob down to Who's Annie. Let's get Bobby down to I'm a Good Man. Let's put Chip
Real
Desmond to
real
Iconic.
suggestions. Real suggestions.
Okay, I'm staring intently at our list right now. Sonny Jim is in the same tier as Diane. Nobody could have made this list. This is like an AI programmed list. We didn't actually. Nobody could have made this.
Oh man, I just want to say that fucker Ray one more time. I don't even have anything else to say.
Ray.
That fucker Ray. Yeah, I think
and
that's
that's
right.
exactly where he belongs to.
Yeah, he belongs in that. I'm a good man.
Maybe Renzo. No.
I think this looks correct to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should bump Harold Smith down.
Where is he?
Mr. C.
I'm willing to be outvoted on that, but I find Harold Smith compelling as a character.
I think I conceptually love Harold Smith.
But why?
I think that's the most interesting I've found Donna in the show is when she's like reenacting Laura's life and like finding genuine connection with this guy, but also like manipulating and using him. And
sure,
it's a different type
but
of character.
You're talking
for
about
Laura to interact
Donna.
with. No, I know that's true, but I think that his presence brings that out of her.
Yeah, he's
And
also just kind of a creep day one.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, he's big creep. I'm not saying that he's like a cool guy.
You're saying, okay, I think the argument you're making is he is a character, therefore not.
The argument I'm making is he's involved in interesting plots concerning Laura and Donna.
Fair enough.
I think he serves a useful narrative purpose that is clearer to me than a lot of the Who's Annie characters, where it's like, what were you doing here?
Yeah, okay.
That's my defense of Harold Smith.
Okay, no, you won. You won me over.
Okay. Now, why is Lana Milford in Who's Annie? That's the big question I have.
She gets an arc. She gets a whole ass arc.
I feel like she's an icon. I don't know.
Whoa. I think I argued to get her higher. I think we had this argument.
Do we? Damn.
I would bump her up 1. I'm not gonna bump her up to iconic. I'm not that. I'm full of beans, but not that full of beans.
No,
I mean,
okay.
I could see it. I could see it going up 1.
What about I'm a good man?
Whoa, double? You want to double her up? Up to Renzo?
Yeah. Yeah. When I think back on Twin Peaks and my two favorite characters, it's Renzo and Lana Milford.
The thing about Lana Milford is that the actress played teen witch and then grew up to be an adult witch. I love that for her.
We can leave her where she is, but I feel
like the Fuscos, Renzo and Lana Milford is like a good pairing.
Yeah, they're all of the
sitcom.
same ilk. Let's go. Yes. Let's go.
Woohoo! We got her up, Lana Milford up to I'm a good man. That's fantastic.
I think this is solely because of the book. But okay.
Yeah, her presence in the books really elevated her there. Yeah. I'm content with the rest of this.
I think the rest of the list is pretty much on point.
God, the drawer built here is so depressing. Ugh, everyone sucks.
Yeah, they all suck.
I like how these two have the same face.
It's the same shot. Yeah.
Ernie and hold on, I can get his name. He had a cool name.
The guy, yeah.
Baddis?
Emery Baddis. Emery Baddis.
There we go.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Ryan got me there.
All right.
Tier list.
We'll post an image of this when this episode
drops. Absolutely.
drops.
Do y'all want to read some emails about Twin Peaks?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Fantastic. So let me see. What order did we get these in? Magellan, can you read this first one here from a friend of the podcast, the other Ryan, please?
Yeah, so this is from Ryan Slowinski of Spit Polish and Yum Yum. And Ryan says, "Hello, Chatzlings. Twin Peaks and The Return hold a very special place in my heart for many reasons, as they do for many people out there. And I've been so happy with your coverage of the franchise." Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
When I watched The Return, it was when it aired, and we all had to wait each week to see what crazy thing would happen next, which was truly exciting, but also a frustrating experience to say the least. My wife and I were still living at our university share house with some people, and we would gather everybody up every week to watch The Return, which became a fun routine and way to bond with others. It was a magical experience to be able to share the joys and pains of this show with a group of people in real time and to be able to discuss it for hours afterwards. Near the end of The Return, we all moved out of that house and scattered to different areas of the city, which was sad, but it was also the time for Rachel and I to just live on our own. Even though we that's Ryan's wife. Even though we no longer live together, the draw of Twin Peaks managed to keep that old share house meeting up for the next few weeks as we'd go to each other's new place and fire up the latest episode. As the finale approached, we organized to watch it at my place, which had yet to get internet connected to it, which meant we had to hotspot a fucking telephone to be able to stream it. To say that my insistence on watching the final episode with the lights off was the correct choice is an understatement. Watching them forever drive those dark roads while in a dark room myself truly transported me into the scene. When it ended, the room was left silent, and there was a strong air of confusion present during those credits, but also finality. We knew that it had come to an end, and knew that it was over in more ways than one. Since then, I've managed to catch those former housemates from time to time, but only by luck and happenstance. But I'll forever be thankful to The Return for giving me a rare instance of being a part of a shared televisual group experience. Kind regards, Ryan Slawinski. That's a pretty special experience to have with this weird show. I love that story.
Good email.
Yeah,
that email is the equivalent of like the video of the guy logging on to PlayStation, and he's like, "Oh my God, is that you? Oh my God, it's been forever, man!" Like that.
Yeah. I love that. That's become like a genre on TikTok, by the way, where people do that, and then it's like, oh, we stopped playing the game, and then we just got on the call to talk to each other. I'm like, it's my life.
And fucking Tokyo Ghoul music is playing underneath or whatever.
Oh God. I think it's awesome that I'm gonna keep saying Ryan. It's gonna keep feeling weird, Ryan. Sorry, but
that's fine. No,
how the way that Ryan got to have with The Return what millions of people had with the original series. This like communal watch experience, and like I think also with our current COVID situation, we long for things like 2017 getting to watch and discuss shows in person with each other. It's just like it's something that even our podcast can't recreate. It's just the true joy. Like I got to watch at least one episode of The Return with you, Magellan, in person, and that was great. Like getting to experience that together. But truly a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think the thing that I also like about that story is, like you're saying, Alan, it returns to what the sorts of experiences people had watching the original series. Because my recollection of how I watched the episodes of The Return that I watched and how people did it was like everybody jumped onto Twitter after the episode aired, and it is just like a much different. It's still a week to week shared experience, but it's not. There's not the human connection there in quite the same way. There is some. I don't mean to discount that, but being able to watch it in person with a group of people is cool. And I think the last show that I like physically observed that happen with was like Game of Thrones. So it's cool that Ryan had that experience.
There were very few Game of Thrones episodes I got to watch live with people. I watched the finale with a friend, which was great, and then a lot of it was people being rude on Twitter and spoiling it the minute it aired, which is like
there's watching this live was just it's like unbelievable time to be a Twin Peaks fan, I think. It's just a singular unique experience, especially like I don't really feel passionate about a lot of shows to begin with. And if I catch a show, it'll be on a torrent like after it airs. So it's like this was just a unique experience. And yeah, I still am like friends with people who I talked to when that was airing and stuff. And it's just really cool. I really enjoyed it. Remembering specific discourses was fun. A lot of people, and this is gonna be a joke in poor taste. I apologize. People researching, can you get pregnant in a coma when stuff was happening?
Wow.
I think we all learned together that yes, well, at least like non cis women learn.
Right.
learned. But yeah, it was great. Yeah, definitely feel that.
And also just last thing here that Ryan Swinsky mentioned, watching it in the dark and the value of that. And I think it's so rare, especially in the age of streaming TV where the fidelity is so much lower, that I like consciously think about the atmosphere I'm watching things in. And like we watch so much TV, and it's like I'll watch some of it on my phone, I'll watch some of it on my computer, and like I'll watch it while I'm working and do all this XYZ. But like there is something really great about a show that says, hey, you're gonna get more value out of this if you sit down and look at it and like fully give, like, pretend you're in a movie theater. Don't talk, don't get up, try not to pause it if you don't have to, and like fucking watch it. And I thought that's really cool. They just don't make shows like that anymore, which I get, but also it's very unique in that way. Yeah. We got a second email here from friend of the podcast, Nick, which I will read. Nick says, this is Nick of the Brothers at Infinite War, of course, the legend himself. Hey folks, ×3. Long time no email. Sorry about that. I just wanted to write in and thank you again for covering Twin Peaks so that I finally had the courage to get through season 2. I may have played some episodes on double speed so that I can enjoy some really great TV that is The Return. It's wonderful. Nick has been slowly but steadily catching up with the podcast and with The Return, and as a, know the plot, but his first time watching it has been really great to see him get into it. I'm still a few episodes behind on the show, like I just said, and I guess even further behind compared to you guys now finishing the show and PeaksChatz, but I'm still enjoying it as if it's real time. The greatest mystery of all, though, did Bluest Rose, aka Ryan, ever finish Dexter New Blood?
I will message in the Discord when I do. I will find time one of these days.
Very excited. Can't wait to see what happens to my favorite murder guy. Nick concludes, I'm looking forward to whatever comes next after the break, even if it isn't Lois and Clark or Space Above and Beyond, or just the X-Files and folding the Chats files into the main feed. Anything is great. Nick.
Those are certainly some suggestions right there.
Nick has that magic Canadian ability to be so nice and yet so digging in the same exact sentence. It's incredible. We appreciate you, Nick. Thank you. And I'm glad you're catching up with us.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to read this last one from Cam?
Sure, this one's from Cam. They say, hey, Chats Pod, love your coverage of the show and appreciated how much y'all enjoyed the more lighthearted moments. I'm curious, after seeing the whole show through, what are your thoughts on late season 2 in relationship to the rest of the show? Although lots of it can be gross or weird, Josie, Catherine, etc., I think back on that section of Twin Peaks as something I find truly delightful, and I think Dougie Coop brings some of that energy into The Return. Does the second half of season 2 silliness bring some needed joy to a sometimes grim show, or does it weigh down the rest of what makes Twin Peaks special? Curious to hear your thoughts, and thanks for the great season. Thank you, Cam.
Thank you, Cam.
Thank you, Cam, for listening.
Thanks, Cam.
Great question here. Do we still like season 2's second half, and do we feel like that silliness brought some joy to another way?
When I watched the whole series this time, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it way more this time than when I first watched it, I feel like.
Same. I was miserable the first time. Because,
yeah,
and we talked about this in season 2's discussions, but like, you have to know going into it that like, if some of this isn't going to be answered, some of this is not going anywhere, just enjoy it. And there's something maybe like bigger to be said about like life and how like we come to appreciate the weirder parts of our lives, or the parts that we feel are dragging or frustrating in the rear view. And I think season 2 is 100 times better. The second half of season 2 especially is 100 times better in the rear view. Because once you've seen season 3 and you know how grim and sad things can get, it's like, yeah, sometimes I just want to watch like freaking Lana Milford like bewitch all of the members of the sheriff's department. I think that's great. Or I want to see Little Nicky and see Andy freaking picture Little Nicky in a devil costume. Like that's also Twin Peaks in the same universe as Mr. C and Audrey Horne and all that stuff. We also get the silliness that is season 2. Because the world is complicated, and so is Twin Peaks. Oh man, the problem with this now is that even though we're done with Twin Peaks, I have a Twin Peaks calendar behind me that still has 9 months to go, where I have to see Twin Peaks imagery every single month.
That's funny.
But yeah, those are the emails we got.
Thank you. Do we have sort of? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Al.
I was gonna segue into what you were gonna say. Those are the emails we got. Do we have sort of broader questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I'm interested in Magellan, your thoughts, having gone through the ringer and coming out on the other side, and also having a week to marinate on the finale. What your overall Twin Peaks mindset is right now?
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I'm walking away with on a meta level is having an appreciation for Twin Peaks as a, for lack of a better word, franchise, but I don't even know that that's the right word, but like a set of works that contains multitudes in a way. Like Twin Peaks sort of feels like you're listening to a band that is trying to do very different things every album they put out, and it's still the same band, but and you can kind of like put some of the songs on the same playlist, but they don't quite fit together in stylistically speaking. And I just admire that because there are so many media properties that come back and do sequels and do revivals and things like that, where they're occupied with how do we reproduce what this was, or how do we like serve people's expectations or whatever. And it feels like every single piece of what Twin Peaks is always came from a place of we're trying to put a set of images on the screen or tell a particular story or ask particular questions. It's always motivated by some kind of like artistic something, even if it's a mess and even if it's stupid sometimes. And so I think that's what I'm in a meta way walking away with, that like it's a show where there's really like, depending on how you slice it, 4, 5, 6 different tonally distinct segments of this thing, and you can at different times pick and choose which part of it you're zooming in on and focusing on. And at the end of the day, you know, you can cut away all sorts of chaff and still end up with this really compelling and haunting story about trauma and resilience, and that thread is throughout the whole thing. It comes back in the finale of Twin Peaks: The Return. And I also just appreciate the show for having that story, because I feel like that's not the sort of story that we see told with that level of clarity and like honesty in other places, even if it's wrapped up in supernatural stuff where it's sometimes like, what's the logic of this? I feel like it's told, Laura Palmer's story and everything associated with it is told in a way where we can like make meaning of that story and walk away with something. So I don't know. I'm glad that I watched The Return now as opposed to when I was, what was that? When I was 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that I had really understood Twin Peaks, the original thing, to an extent that I could have understood what it meant for The Return to be trying to return to the thing that I didn't understand that well to begin with. And I think also just having lived more life and experiencing, you know, the inability to go back to things and like wrestling with my own feelings of nostalgia, or what's my sense of the past, and is it even accurate, and you know, dealing with loss and grief and, you know, regret. And I think that I'm able to have a better appreciation for it now than I would have if I had watched it when it first came out. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm curious what you both think.
I was thinking about that, the nostalgia thing specifically, Magellan, and not to get too into our lives, but Magellan and I graduated from high school 10 years ago. And we were thinking, we were hanging out recently, the day that we actually watched that Twin Peaks episode together. And like we were looking through our old yearbook, and I was like having all these memories and being like, did I like high school? Do I like miss high school and want to see those people again and like see them grow and change? And I think that it's something fun and exciting about like, oh, like this person got a different job or got a different hairstyle, or they, you know, their body changed a lot. but also like I will never recapture the feeling I had of like sitting at the lunch table with you guys in high school, and I can't make that happen again. And trying to go back to that is a futile effort. And
Yeah.
I think for me and the spectrum of my current life, that's what Twin Peaks: The Return feels like, is when you have like rose-colored glasses of something from before, but you realize how maybe it wasn't so good. Maybe you weren't as happy as you thought you were.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, I can only imagine what it must feel like to try to travel back 25 years, because I was 25 years ago. So
Right.
like that's a level of time I can't even conceive of. But I feel like the older I get, the more I experience this feeling of like being alienated from my own past and my own memories, in like they're becoming more and more abstract. And that kind of in a way feels like what the return part of the return is about, is like grappling with that sort of core unsettling reality of like being older and looking back and trying to reconstruct things that don't really even feel real anymore, which is an interesting sort of like mood of the third season, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you guys. You know, I was in college when season 3 aired. I got into Twin Peaks. Early college, like freshman year of college, and then I ended my college career with season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And not to dox myself, but I now work at the school that I went to, after being away from it for like 3 or 4 years. And so watching this again, like really, and being in the same places that I was 4 years ago, and then watching this show, it really struck a nerve with me in terms of being in the same place but not feeling the same things, not experiencing the same emotions that you did before. Even like I have changed as a person in the time since I've been there, and the world has changed in different ways, in ways that are, you know, systemic and kind of beyond human comprehension at a certain point. And you just feel that weight. And then, you know, people I've known who lived here have moved on, and stuff. And so it's, you know, watching season 3 for me felt really resonant in that perspective, in terms of dealing with the passage of time and nostalgia, and what it means to reconnect, or try to reconnect to some of those like older times. And more broadly speaking, rewatching the entire series again, I just, like you said, Magellan, appreciating just the vastness of what Twin Peaks is, and it redefining itself over and over again, and or like adding new elements as it goes along.
Right.
Firewalk with Me is still my favorite Twin Peaks thing, just because how resonant those themes are to me. But I think season 3, I think as I grow older, it'll be something that's a little more special to me as I sit with it more, and as I revisit it. I just feel like it's something that I can't relate to as being somebody who is much younger than those guys are. So it's like, just feels, it speaks to something that they feel at their core. And the more I experience life, the more I will kind of resonate with that, I think. So
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Regarding like seeking answers in Twin Peaks, and seeking, you know, catharsis the way a lot of people on the internet do. It's something we've like confronted a lot in this podcast, is just how the listeners of different types will try to like solve the show. And, you know, now we're all free to watch those 4-hour Twin Peaks essays and have a good time with those and laugh about it, whatever, think about it. But something I've always appreciated, especially about The Return, but also seasons 1 and 2 and Firewalk with Me, is I don't think that the answers come from thinking hard enough or reading enough Wikipedia articles or theorizing on Reddit for 6 hours. I think the answers for me, the catharsis for me has been, like you guys have both been saying, just living your own life and reflecting on your own life and how you think about nostalgia and your relationship to women and your relationship to heartbreak and familial trauma. I think about the final shot of season 3 is like Cooper, almost falling to his knees and then saying, "What year is this?" as he turns. And at first I didn't get that. And then a year or so ago, I revisited my college campus, which was a site where I had a very rough time and discovered I had, chronic depression and anxiety, and went back there with a different framing. And I totally realized, what year is it? Made perfect sense. And if if what I'm saying here doesn't make sense to you, then I definitely recommend just go somewhere you haven't been in a long time, that you have really strong memories about, good or bad, and you'll get it. That's the answer you're looking for. Is it's fucking primally scary and weird and surreal and existential to go somewhere that you used to go constantly and has now completely vanished from your life, and go, "Oh, where am I? What time is this? What's different?
Right.
This feels wrong." So that's what I have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just want to double down. I totally agree with that feeling. And I want to double down on the broader takeaway about Twin Peaks, which is, I feel like people it's really cool to see theory videos and things like that. And people get caught up in solving the mystery or whatever. And I just firmly believe that at the end of the day, and I think what animates the podcast and the way we do it is that at the end of the day, media is only what the meaning that we make of it, and not even oh, did you notice that the jumping man has Sarah Palmer's face and therefore this and that? But does that mean something to you? Does that house a theme or a realization or a connection to your own lived experience? And Twin Peaks is really rich in those things. And when we can sort of see the forest as opposed to the individual trees, I think it's a much deeper experience. And I'm glad that we were able to do that this season, revisiting it.
See the donut for the hole, so to speak.
That is something they said in the show. Or no, something they said about the show.
David Lynch said it.
And that's very true.
We talked about it on the podcast, and it now makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah. And there were times when we're getting ready for season 3 that I was like, is Magellan gonna not, this might just not click because we've overhyped it and we've constantly been this thing's gonna come back. But I think we did a pretty good job about not leading you too much with it and letting you have your own opinion on it somewhat.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I did a good job, because literally in the episode I was on in season 2,
what did you do?
Magellan was complaining about Cooper, and I was just like, we'll come back to this when we finish season 3.
But I got there on my own before you said that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I was led to particular conclusions. I think it was definitely not as good. The season was not as good as I thought it would be, which is fine. But I think it was more interesting than I expected it to be, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Alan, should we talk about what we're doing next?
Yeah, let's play some fun music or something and talk about something.
So first off, I think we're gonna take a week off on the main feed, so we'll toss maybe a bonus episode up on there or something like that. The week after that, you're going to get our first episode of our slowly releasing PeaksChatz podcast, where we'll be discussing season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Let's fucking go.
So if you have Star Trek The Next Generation thoughts for season 1 specifically, and you want to send them in, we would love to just open the mailbag, open our thoughts, discuss our takes on that season. So that's happening on the feed.
Do you guys think do you guys think Tasha Yar is a drawer pull or?
Great question.
Yeah, I think she's.
Yeah, you'll have to find out.
No, if just to tease that a little bit more, we are two people who have never really gotten into Star Trek as a whole. Every December we watch, for around the period after Christmas, we watch a Star Trek pilot on our Patreon, which we'll plug in a bit. And we landed on TNG like, okay, we really want to watch DS9, but let's watch TNG really slowly and methodically. And it's been an incredible experience, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. And then after that, we're going to start season 13 of Chat's Television Podcast. Now, there's a lot of superstition around the number 13. Some hotels don't have a 13th floor. Some planes don't have a 13th. Some planes don't have a 13th row. I don't know if that's true, but I think it might be. So we wanted to do something where we're not tempting fate in season 13. We're going to lean into the unluckiness of it. And we're going to cover 3 shows that were incredibly unlucky, canceled. I don't know if before their time is the right way to say it, but before they reached double-digit episodes. Let's put it that way. The first. Do we want to say all 3 of those shows, Alan? I guess so, right?
Yeah, we can just say them. It's one season.
Yeah, the first of those 3 shows is, of course, the Lost to Time, David Lynch, Mark Frost classic sitcom On the Air. So we're going to be watching that pretty soon. After that, we're going to watch a show that's been stuck in Alan's mind for years. The Nathan Fillion vehicle, and I meant that pun, the Nathan Fillion vehicle Drive. So that's something. And
Wait,
then
what?
Nathan Fillion was in a 6-episode show called Drive about a bunch of people who were driving across the country to get $1 million or something, and Fox canceled it.
What is with him and just can't anyway?
Yeah,
go on.
It's Fox mostly.
And then we're gonna watch a show that's been in my brain for years and years and years, which is called New Amsterdam. And it's a show about a guy who's immortal or something, can't die, is trying to solve crimes. I don't know.
Jamie Lannister.
It's Jamie Lannister. It's not Forever, which we've piloted years ago, but it's basically the same plot. So yeah, we're gonna watch a bunch of trash because why would we watch something popular and continue the momentum of our growing listenership?
That would be
Hell
stupid.
No way. We're going to watch a bunch of bad shows that were canceled early. That's season 13. So that's coming up over the next couple months. And then season 14 is going to happen after that. And that's going to be probably a more traditional season. But, we'll get there when we get there.
Can I read a quote from the Drive Wikipedia?
Please.
In the September 2007 issue of Marvel Comics' Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Peter Parker comments that ever since Fox canceled Drive, it has been one piece of bad luck after another.
True.
Incredible.
That's actually, people always say, oh, after Trump's election, blah, 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 2016 ruined it. Nope, it was the canceling of Drive that did it.
Yeah, the canceling of Drive caused the 2008 financial crisis, I think.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. There you have it. So yeah, that's happening soon. But first a week off, then Trek Chats, and then season 13. Great. Let's talk about our plugs for the show. Ryan, first, where can people find you before you leave us?
Yeah, you can find me at BluestRose430 on Twitter. This was my only podcast, but I might have more coming up in the future.
Ooh.
Yumma.
So stay tuned for that. I like
Lovely.
podcasting, it turns out.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for having me on. I've been loving doing these episodes, and I'm really going to miss it a lot.
Yeah.
So.
You honor
Us
us.
too. Huge round of applause to Ryan for joining us and for enriching our Twin Peaks The Return coverage. It's been a real joy to be with you here. Alan, do you want me to do the plugs or do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do the plugs.
Okay, take it. Go for it.
I feel like I always give you the plugs, so I think that I am owed some
Yeah,
plugs.
I was feeling that you should get to chomp on them this time.
If you'd like to get into contact with us and send us emails that we will read on the podcast, the email address is chatspod@gmail.com. all instances of ChatZpod, ChatZpod @gmail.com. We have a Twitter account, which is @ChatZpod. Over there, I'm posting updates about the show. It's mostly automated right now, but occasionally we'll post clips and stuff. We have a community-run subreddit called r/ChatZpod over on Reddit. We highly recommend you check that out because people are listening to old Chats episodes and having a fun time rediscovering some of our old wacky seasons. If you like our podcast, we recommend you check out your podcast platform of choice and give us a rating, a star rating preferably, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on everything. It really helps us, honestly. I know every podcaster says it, but it is true. And we also have a Patreon where we put out all sorts of fun content if you support us at just low tiers of $1, $3, or $5 a month. You get different tiers of content, including the Chats Files, where Magellan just recently watched De Han de Verlitz, the Season 2 episode. And we spin a wheel every month, and our patrons get to put things on the wheel, and we watch movies usually. So we recently commentaried When Harry Met Sally for Valentine's Day. That was really fun. And we also do pilot chats where we recently covered Stargate SG-1, which was a really good time. So if you support us at $5 a month, though, you get thanked at the end of the main feed. And those $5 patrons, as of today, include Arthur, Jen, Magellan's mom, Marcus, Nick and Pat of the Brothers at Infinite Celestial Cosmic War, Fender, Six, and of course, Stefan. Thank you so much for supporting Chats Television Podcast. All things Chats can be found at chatspod.com. And if you like our fancy podcast art, that was done by friend of the podcast, Camilla, who can be found at Camillastrator on Instagram and all other social media platforms if you want to check out her wonderful artwork. Thank you again. We like to end it every week with some chatsums with our little crunchy, delicious pickles that we eat every week. And these pickles are media recommendations. Sometimes they are life recommendations. John, I'd like to start with you. I'm going in a chaotic order today. What is your chatsum or chatsums this week?
No. It's so hard for me to think of a chatsum because all I've been doing is playing Elden Ring.
Dude, oh my god.
It's so fucking good.
It's so good.
I can't even. I guess I'll chatsum the book I've been reading. I've been reading, it's a few years old, and this guy's written more recent books since then, Cal Newport's Deep Work. I heard Cal Newport on a podcast a while ago, years ago, talking about deep work as a concept, which is essentially just like focused work. I don't know how else to say that. But the book is about the significance of being able to enter into deep work for a variety of things related to creativity, to knowledge work, things like that. And the ways in which the society we live in today and the assumptions of how jobs should work fight to keep us in spaces of shallowness, and what are the things that we can do to have more kind of deep, thoughtful, I don't know what the word is, sessions. I don't know how to phrase that, but to spend more of our lives in a state of meaningful focus to achieve fulfilling results or outcomes. I think there are times where the book is in this space of productivity good, output good, in a way that's kind of weird. It's sort of neutral on that stuff in a way that is pro that stuff, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're somebody who likes to make stuff, regardless of the sort of capitalistic, be more productive vibes, or the be the winner in the knowledge economy, get a good job type shit, which I'm not a fan of. I think separate from those things, if you're a creative person who wants to do something do a lot of writing, or I don't know, just create something that would require that level of focus, I think it's a useful book to forward those goals. So I'd recommend it, or at least recommend looking into the concept and reading about some of the techniques that he prescribes.
It's very interesting stuff, and that is Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Yeah.
I'll come next. I don't usually put a punt to myself, but here I am punting to myself. My chatsum this week is a book I've been reading, that has actually coincidentally lined up really well with a show that we're piloting, or that will have, the PeaksChatz would have come out by now, right, Magellan?
Which show are you talking about?
Space Above and Beyond.
Yes, it would have come out yesterday from when they're listening to this.
Folks who are keeping up with our Patreon stuff know that we recently discussed Space Above and Beyond over there, over on patreon.com/chatspod, pluggy plug. And that show, I learned while separately reading this book, is based on the book that I'm reading, which is The Forever War by Joseph Haldeman. So yeah, Forever War, classic 70s sci-fi. It's about a soldier named something Mandela. They call him usually like Private Mandela. And he is a soldier in like a future Vietnam analog. It's all very much like Starship Troopers-y, war is evil and the Vietnam War was bad stuff. I think where the book excels, though, besides like excruciating detail on like how their suits filtrate water and stuff like that, which is like crunchy details, is it's really also about time dilation and how war can kind of like meld and warp the different like eras of your life into one long chunk, and the outside world feels completely alien to you, and turning that into a sci-fi concept of like, you know, just as a light example, very early in the book, these characters run away from a conflict with the like mysterious alien enemy. And once he wakes up from, the main character wakes up from stasis, he's like, all right, what do we got? We're going to fight them back today. And they're like, yeah, it's been like 8 hours for you. It's been 10 years for them. So now we have to account for them advancing 10 years in technology. And like just that idea stretched out on a wider and wider time scale really gets the stress, the sci-fi anxiety brain going. It's a really interesting read so far. And so that's The Forever War by Joseph Haldeman. It's a great book. Ryan, you got chats?
I have 3 of them.
Whoa!
Making up for some of the lack of them in certain weeks, I guess. My first one is the film Cure, directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. It is a Japanese horror mystery film. This is very Ryan core. It is a horror movie that is the protagonist is a detective, and he goes in too deep on a case that is very spooky and scary. That's all you need to know about the movie. It's great. Fantastic. It's on Criterion. It might be on Shudder as well. But yeah, Cure, Kiyoshi Kurosawa. It's great. Fantastic movie. Second chatsum. This one got fed to me by the algorithm when I was working, and I was like, what's going on? It's Mac Miller's last album, Circles.
Ooh.
It came on at work, and I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
'Cause Mac Miller, like, while I was like saddened to hear that he passed away at a very young age, I associated with like people in elementary school who bullied me, like, listen to Mac Miller, basically. So I didn't have really any basis for like what his music actually was, and like really no connection to it. But his last album is like really good and like really intimate and like very much like a straightforward, like, it's just him singing about being sad and just like going through shit, like being in your mid-20s, and it's like super earnest and good. And I recommend that people give it a listen, especially the single Good News is fantastic. And I don't know, I like this album a lot, and I don't really care for his other stuff that much, but yeah, it's a really good album. Circles. Last one is a bit of a cop-out because it's my friends, but I gotta recommend the Abnormal Mapping Podcast Network. They have a Patreon, patreon.com/abnormalmapping, I think is what the URL is. You never know with Patreon URLs sometimes.
It is that, though. I just confirmed it.
Okay. And they have this show. If you pay a bunch of extra money to them, first of all, subscribe to their Patreon. They talk about Gundam and one other anime once a week, and you can get that for $1. And it's wild. It's great. Great podcast. if you are like me and like these people and pledge at the $10 mark, you get a show called VoIP Life, which is very much in the vein of your sort of chats nights sort of deal, where it's just like hanging out with Em and Jackson, the two hosts. They did, for the 100th episode of VoIP Life, a 7.5-hour podcast where they did 100 top fives on just random things.
Cool.
And it's fantastic. And you just get Em and Jackson talking for hours about the stuff they like, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I gotta shout them out here at the last one, just because this dropped like yesterday, and I was like, I gotta mention this because I don't know how you do a 7.5-hour pod. It was recorded in different segments, which helps, but it's still a feat, especially since they don't like to go long on stuff. So yeah, gotta shout them out. So,
John, did you say I want to do that?
I did.
Okay. All right, I'll add it to the planning doc. Oh man, this is so sad. I don't want it to be over, but here we are. We've reached the end of the road, and once again, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for being the Diane to my Cooper, the cool version though, not the sad one. Thank you for I don't know how to word that correctly. Thank you for Magellan for being the Sheriff Truman to my Cooper. And thank you to the Andy to my Lucy, the spaghetti to my word Alan looks for whenever they can't think of a word.
Western.
The spaghetti to my Western. I wish I could edit myself saying that. Thank you to John for being the spaghetti to my Western. No, I'm keeping all of that. And thank you, dear listener, for listening to PeaksChatz. And that was a damn fine podcast.